why you need to make Gazelle all curvy like that?
I'm tired. I am hot. I just had to go to a gas station to fill up jerry cans because my dad forgot to fill his car up with gas. And then we started recording the second I got back. That's how I'm feeling right now. That's where I'm at.
That's fair. That's very fair. I went to Philly, so we haven't recorded in like a week and a half because I was
Yeah.
in Philly. That was a lot of fun. I didn't even tell you all that much about Philly because we've both been busy since I got back, and it's the
Yeah.
holidays and things like that. But I spent an ungodly amount of money.
Yeah.
I am I literally got back, and we'll talk about this when we get to the actual topics conversation. I got back, had 3 days of work before the holidays because I only get Thanksgiving and Black Friday off. But while doing that, because I was work from home, I started my binge watch of Stranger Things on that Monday and
Brother.
literally had Stranger Things running constantly. Like
Brother.
literally nonstop other than the shorts I did. And like going to see Zootopia Thanksgiving and going to hang out with a friend a little bit to watch Zootopia what was it yesterday. So it has been a weird week for
Dude, that's
sure for
that's just
me.
that's dedication. Because I'll tell you what, man, I've binged TV shows before. Remember, I binged Breaking Bad in like 2.5 weeks. Stranger Things is a long ass show.
Yeah, yeah, you're telling me there's an episode in there that's longer than Infinity War. A
Yeah,
single episode. It is
yeah,
over 2.5 hours long.
yeah.
2 hours and 38 minutes, I believe.
Look,
The season 4 finale.
I don't pity you because at least what you doing was fun. I'm talking about jerry cans and filling up a car with gas, which I have not done yet. Never thought I would ever have to. Turns out I have to. And that was not fun. But you know what is fun is doing a podcast right now because we're just throwing everybody right into it. What's up, Nimrods? Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Nimrods podcast, the only podcast in the world where your two favorite Nimrods talk all things nerdy. I'm your host this evening, here with my forever co-host,
Brandon, aka Parrotfish.
and I'm Carson, aka Juggernaut, and I don't know how I could have possibly screwed up that intro. 40 episodes almost, and here we are. Yeah, I blame it on the hot day getting gas. You're gonna hear me allude to that a lot this episode. uh Today, very special day, very special episode. We alluded to it already. We're talking about Stranger Things, season 5, a little brief history of it, but mostly season 5, or at least the first half of it. And we're talking about Zootopia 2, which I'm actually very excited to talk about. And I was not expecting to be so excited to talk about. Uh, spoilers for everything. You know the drill. Everything we talk about, the movie, the TV series, specifically Stranger Things more so. Spoilers, for the love of God, go watch the show before you come here. We will be going in depth about everything.
Yeah, there
Um,
is no spoiler-free there's no spoiler-free conversations
no holding
at
back
all.
here.
I will dies in this. You got your spoiler word now.
Look, I know we're kind of rushing into this, but it's just because Brandon and I had talked to you beforehand, and we were just like, "This is too exciting. This is too important. We're going to be here for hours, just sitting
Well, and
here."
it's a hour and 48 movie, and then nearly 5.5 hours worth of TV.
Yeah,
Plus, there was no news. It's Thanksgiving. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Happy belated Thanksgiving.
happy
There's not really a
Thanksgiving.
lot of news this week, so we're kind of just jumping into it. Also, we're recording this very late because of reasons that I will get into. You already heard a little bit in the cold open, but I'll talk about it way more in a few. Well, we're starting with Zootopia, just so people know. There will be timestamps, but we're starting with Zootopia, and then we'll go into Stranger Things. So,
What a chaotic beginning, but I kind of like that for us. When approaching this point in the episode, eventually we're just going to start podcast like, all right, whatever. What'd you think? Good enough. Sure. All right. I'll
we're
see you
like
next week.
two. We're like 200 episodes in. We're finally in person for the first time ever, which actually that's something to look forward to in the coming like
Yeah.
weeks actually is
Yeah.
I'm flying home for Christmas holiday. I think if my math is correct, and I'll have to double check, there is at very least 2, if not 3 in-person podcast episodes coming
Yeah.
up because Carson lives in Florida where I'm from. We're both born and raised in Florida, and well, actually Carson's not born and raised in Florida. I'm born and raised in Florida, but he lives in Florida, and I will be home for the holidays, so we will be recording together. Not for the first time. Our live action How to Train Your Dragon was actually the only other time we've recorded in person together.
Yeah, that was also a really unique one too, because that was also a chaotic one because we got there and we're like, before we record this, let's watch the original animated
Yep.
one. Because for whatever reason we thought that was a good idea, and it was, but also like we had no
Well,
time.
and I think the thing that I'm most excited about is we will get to, and we'll need to be careful about this because obviously we try to keep from talking about the things we talk about on the podcast to as minimal as possible. But we're going to watch the next things of Stranger Things together. So the episode that drops on Christmas and the episode that drops on New Year's Eve,
Yeah.
we're going to watch together. And then depending on how things work out, very likely it'll be a we finish watching it,
Hit
5
record.
minutes, set up the
Like it's
podcast, hit record, and you will get our absolute raw, unadulterated. Like, I finished the Stranger Things episodes yesterday. Carson probably finished when they dropped over Thanksgiving. So
yeah.
we've had time to digest it, but we're literally going to be watching them together. And then maybe even where we watch them, just hit a record button and talk about them. So I'm actually really looking forward to that.
Let's skip formalities. I already asked how you are. If you want to answer again, you can go ahead, but I kind of already did. You're in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
I mean, good to see you. Let's talk Zootopia 2. Zootopia 2 just dropped, same cast, same everything. Some new people, new faces, new story. Brandon, why don't you go ahead and give us your thoughts on Zootopia 2, just because I'm eager to hear about this.
Zootopia 2 is a movie that I was not sure if I was excited for going in. I loved Zootopia 1. I thought it was a really good movie, but I was like, if this is where they end it, that's cool. But knowing Disney, we're going to get more of it. And so when they announced Zootopia 2, I was like, okay, cool. We're going to get more. Let's see if they can even live up to Zootopia 1. And by golly, when I tell you, they fucking topped Zootopia 1. Like, I watched this with a friend. Me and a friend watched this together, and we both walked out of that movie being like, I am actually baffled by how good this movie is. Like, it is funnier than the first one. It is more heart than the first one. The story is better than the first one. The animation in the first one is really, really good. I think this is one of the most flawlessly animated Disney movies we've ever gotten. Like, there's not a single moment in the entire movie that I can point to and be like, ooh, that's a little off there. Like, I watched this not with a fine tooth comb, but like, I have a critical eye when I watch things. And I thought this was a spectacularly animated movie. I heard a lot of people talking about this before the movie, before I watched it, because of like press screeners and stuff. This is a very adult movie.
Mm.
Like, there are more adult jokes in this movie than there are kids jokes in this movie, which is interesting. I think they understand, first of all, a lot of parents are going to see this movie. Also, there's a certain fan base that likes these types of movies, specifically
Yes.
mention. And
Yes.
I think that it wasn't overbearing, but it was surprising the amount of jokes. Like, I'll give you an example. Our theater, unsurprisingly, I saw this in Dolby Atmos. The only IMAX showing of this movie was at 9:30 in the morning, which was ridiculous. I'm not doing that. So I saw this in Dolby Atmos with a friend, and it was mostly kids. It was mostly kids, and there were some jokes that, like, me and my friend, we laughed more than anyone else in that theater did. We had a ball, but we laughed at a joke in the movie, and there was a kid literally sitting next to me that turned to their parent and was like, "Mommy, why is that funny? Like, why did they laugh at that?" And I was like, "Ooh, that's gonna be a fun car ride home for
That's gonna
you."
that's gonna be a conversation. Yeah. Yeah.
But I think overall, I had like a surprisingly good time. My friend actually said, and he has seen like maybe 6 movies that have released this year, but out of the 6 that he's seen, this is his favorite movie of the year. This is in my top 10. This movie, unsurprisingly, like, I went into this movie being like, it's another Zootopia movie. It's another Disney movie. Is it going to be good? And I'm walking away saying, this is in my top 10 favorite movies of the year, going up against things like The Long Walk, like Neja 2. It's not better than those, but to be counted in that list of, in my opinion, a very strong year of movies is still really impressive when you take into consideration that some of the stuff is predictable. The story is classism. It's classism, which is a lot of the first movie, but I think they do a lot better of a job of handling those themes of classism in this movie. They have a lot more of a driving factor with introducing the reptiles. You have in my opinion, a better dynamic between Judy and why am I forget? Oh, and why am
Nick.
I? Yeah, thank you. You have a better dynamic between Judy and Nick, and I think that their conflict makes so much sense. I think that, like, again, while there were some elements that were predictable, overall, the story was heartfelt. It was consistent. There was no low point in this movie. There were a lot of, like, it was moving from set piece to set piece, but every set piece was at least as good, if not better than the last one, which just surprised me. But yeah, I know that was all over the place, but that is my thoughts on Zootopia 2.
Yeah. Yeah, so I look, I've been very vocal about sequels. I don't think sequels work most of the time. I don't think, especially Disney animated sequels, I don't think they work most of the time. The only time I've ever seen it kind of work, and I say kind of with a very like hesitant voice here,
With a capital K.
right, is Frozen 2. Moana 2 did not do anything for me. I don't think it did well. I don't personally think the Wreck-It Ralph sequel did well. I kind of hate the Wreck-It Ralph sequel because it undermines so much of the first movie, and I think that first movie is pretty close to perfect as perfect can be. Disney animation, not Pixar. I do have to differentiate from Pixar because Pixar can make good sequels, and that's been proven. Disney animation has had a really hard time making good animated sequels. So when Zootopia 2 was announced, I immediately thought it was a cash grab. I thought that it could be better than like a Moana 2 and a Wreck-It Ralph 2, just based on the world they play in and the various different possibilities that you can go in. It's really hard to screw it up, but I was still hesitant going into it saying this is not going to be better than the first one. And to the credit of the filmmakers, I don't know if this is better than the first one. It's really close. I'd have to rewatch the first one and this one again to know for sure. It's been years since I've seen that first Zootopia movie. All I remember the first time around watching it was going, hey, I really like this. I thought it was great. And I watched it a ton as a kid, but I haven't seen it in years. Um, Zootopia 2, though, like the thing that this movie did so well, and you already said it, but it's the fact that they weren't afraid to hold back and be more adult in this film. And it's not, you mentioned the jokes, but you didn't even really mention just the actual theme itself. Like it really does make you think. And Zootopia 2 does a great job with its relationships and its characters. Again, Judy and Nick from the first movie had a great relationship. It was a lot of fun. Here it's elevated because it's a different type of relationship that they're trying to build towards. And it's just a really cool, beautiful relationship that I just honestly I don't think I've seen in Pixar do, or no, I said Pixar, Disney animation do in a while. You know, it's just I feel like their relationship, minus the romantic part, mind you, because this is gonna say minus the romantic part, should have been what the Wreck-It Ralph Vanellope Von Sweet's relationship is, which is just one butthead, one logical thinker, two friends. You know, that's what that relationship should have been, and they bombed it hard. Here, they elevated it, and then they added more when you add that romantic element on top of it, which makes total logical sense, especially once you watch the first movie leading into this one. Um, Kai Ki Kwan is Gary. He's not actually not in the movie as much as you think he would be, but his voice acting is really good here. And I think what Kai Ki Kwan does so well, and this is just in all of his roles and who he is as a person, it's the sincerity in which he delivers lines and delivers performances. It's just, it comes across so natural and so well done. You believe every motivation of that character. He's not the most exciting addition. He's not a funny character. He's pretty much a straight character for the most part for the entire movie. He has jokes here and there, but he's like the straight character. But that's kind of what I like about him because he's adorable and you want to root for him because of that. Nibble's a welcome addition. Just a funny character through and through. God, I didn't realize Sandberg was in this movie. And so when I hear Andy Sandberg's voice, I go, okay, well, he's clearly the villain, right? I'm not gonna lie. That's the one thing about this movie that just like the first one for me, I was able to predict what was gonna happen more so than the first one because the first one already did it. It's like, okay, this is the nicest guy ever. How is he gonna be the evil one? And I'm like, okay, it's his family. That's it. Yep, it's gonna be him. It's gonna come back around him. He's the bad guy. Uh, but Sandberg does a good job here, and I will say I do like this villain arc more than I think I do the first one. That one for sure, because you do kind of, in a strange way, you sympathize with the villain. He wants to be seen in the eyes of his family, and so he will do anything. It's kind of it's another parallel to another Disney animated movie, but it's like Hans in Frozen to a certain extent. You know, he's the youngest in the family, didn't get anything. He just wants to be seen as royalty in the eyes of his family, so he will do anything to become king and to do anything to gain power over something. It's kind of the same thing here. Um, but it's just very believable. It's a well done character, and it's a lot again, it's a lot better than the villain the first time around. This movie's incredibly funny. You did mention that. There were numerous times where I just laughed because it was genuinely great. I think most of it is Jason Bateman. I just think that his humor type as Nick just matches my humor type so well because I just look at him and go, brother, now is not the time. And it's just great. That character is so well done. I love it. Um, I don't know. I guess story wise, it was good. Again, I predicted that one thing, but that's not that big of a deal because the story itself was really well done and the relationships are really bonded well together, written well together. Overall, I think that Zootopia 2, for the most part, is a maybe greater than, if not equal to, sequel to the original Zootopia, and it's a fun time, which I was not expecting to say at all this year. Um,
That's fair. That is I mean, yeah, that's fair. Like you said, like I don't want to beat a dead horse with it, but like Disney sequels are is so hit or miss. And when I say hit or miss, I mean hit and then or sorry, miss and then like two hits. Like I agree Frozen 2 I think is not better than the first by any means, but still a really enjoyable movie. There's not a lot of other Disney. Now again, I like the distinction between Disney and Pixar sequels. There's just not a lot of them that are all that good. One
I'm gonna look
place
this up now.
okay. While you do
Disney
that, I'm gonna
animation.
ask you a question. So you mentioned the romantic relationship between Judy and Nick. How do you feel about not getting a payoff with that? So obviously you had the payoff with their like duo dynamic and their police force and working together dynamic. But we didn't really get a payoff to the romantic that they were very clearly heavily hinting at, specifically with like the her showing up in the dress and him being awestruck and making fun of her as a coping mechanism, things like that. But there was no like major payoff. There was no kiss. There was like a hug, but more of like a friendly hug. Were you expecting an emotional payoff, or do you like think that that's something we're gonna get in what I'd assume is going to be a third movie, or how do you feel about that?
It'll be a third movie. I mean, I didn't walk out disappointed by it because I know for a fact they're gonna make a third movie, and I know that that's probably gonna be like a huge portion of it. Maybe not like the whole portion of it, but there's gonna be a big part of that movie dedicated to that specific side of their relationship. I think the whole point of this movie was just them getting to the point to where they can admit to each other the actual feelings they have, and then that's it. You don't really have to have, but also like when you look at the over objecting point of the movie, that's kind of like the subtext underneath all of it. The main point is we want to stay as partners. It becomes more than that. They say at the end, like, I want to be your partner because I want to be your partner. Like, you're the closest person to me. Like that's what they're basically saying to each other at the end. But the whole overarching goal of the movie is we want to stay partners because we just want to stay partners, and they're trying to find ways to do that. They want to stay a duo. That's the whole point. That gets paid off. So the subtext part of it, not really. But again, with there more likely than not being a third movie coming in like another 10 years, uh, coming in like another 10 years, I wouldn't be surprised. I'm also not disappointed by the fact that they did or didn't do that this time around. Um,
I think that's fair. Well, because I asked my friend that when we got out of the theater, and he was like, "Well, it's a kids movie. Of course they're not going to do that." But like, Frozen's a kids movie,
I would say
and they
no.
like. I don't think it has anything to do with it being a kids movie. In fact, again, we talked about it, and this can be the next thing we talk about is like how adult this movie is. Like, you're right. I didn't bring it up in terms of like the themes necessarily, like as directly, but like both in theme and in comedy, this is a very adult movie.
Yeah, and it deals heavily with the theme of I'm trying to think of a better word here, but this is the word I'm going to use. Maybe you can think of something better. Prejudice.
I mean, it's
Um,
classism is what I would say, but
Classism is probably
yeah.
better. It deals with the uh, theme of classism, and that's not typically something that's dealt with in a kids movie. You can like tell a story, that has that theme, but it's not as heavy, so it doesn't feel as prevalent. Here, it's riddled all throughout the movie. Like, almost every scene, it's riddled, at least from the main conflict onward to when they go to the reptile land, and then they slowly go towards the end. You can easily see the classism in the movie. Um, and
Yeah.
I think that that theme is just such a heavy theme for a kids movie that it does first off, it does make kids think more, and it makes it such a worthwhile project to show your kids later on, because then you have something that they can think about, but also it's something that the adults can stew on too. Like, they can go in and they don't like, it's a kids movie still at the end of the day, but you can watch it and you don't feel like you're wasting your time. That this movie is trying to tell something in a kids movie, mind you.
Yeah. No, I think that's fair. I think that I mean, the first movie dealt heavily with classism as well. It was more just from the lens of predator versus prey and the like I guess that's a little less classism, maybe call it racism, I don't know, but
Yeah,
there was still a very clear divide in the first movie. This is even more of a divide because it is about like in the first movie you have someone who's trying to manipulate the truth with the carnivores, the like villainous animal, the carnivorous animals against the prey, the predator versus the prey. And in this
sure.
movie, it's the reptiles versus the mammals, essentially. Even though I think there's birds in. Is there birds in Zootopia? Is it just mammals, or there's no talking bird characters? I just realized that.
I think that could also play a part of the third movie. That was something I was going to talk about at the end. Is I think birds could be, because I don't recall there being any birds. There's a very strong chance that birds could play a bigger part at the end, in a third movie.
Well, it is interesting because what I thought they were setting up with the third movie was obviously at the end of this movie, jumping around a little bit, they have the whole like, oh, you let all these escape conflicts go. You have the main villain from the first one, the sheep escape. And I was like, oh, okay, they're just gonna do that. And I was honestly a little disappointed. I was like, oh, they're just gonna do that. They're gonna capture her again. They're gonna recycle the villain. But it does seem like they captured at least her at the end of the movie with that final like splash screens thing with them in the airport and her trying to
Sure.
escape. So I'm hoping that that is just like a okay, we're not going to repeat this. We're not going to return. Maybe it does have something to do with the escape
No,
convicts, but at least
I
not.
think no, I think that that was purely just a, "Hey, you release these criminals, we gotta stop put them back." It gives them a reason to, like, have a lot more cases together, to do a lot more work together. I don't think that's gonna play factor at all into the third movie. I think that that's just gonna be like a, "Hey, you let these criminals out, let's go put them back." And that's why they show at the very end them in, like, the disguised outfits. They say their names jumping towards, the villain from the, first movie. I don't think that that's really going to be anything
Yeah, the only
regarding the
way you
first
could
movie.
really do something with that and make it interesting is, and I wouldn't even say make it interesting, just a way you could do it is you make it into a TV show and every episode they go and chase a different villain,
Yeah,
like a different escape convict. I don't want that. And I probably wouldn't even watch it to be honest, even with how much I love Zootopia. I just don't think that like that's one of the reasons that Moana 2 was so bad is because Moana 2 was originally supposed to be an animated series. And then
yeah,
they kind of took all of these episode scripts and married them into a single movie, and that just doesn't work at all. Like, that's not how storytelling works.
sure,
So, hopefully that doesn't end up happening with Zootopia, where they try to make this episodic thing with capturing the escaped convicts and then they mush it into a movie, because I think that in movie form is just not interesting. Like,
sure.
oh, go capture this one villain that you have no connection to. Go skip to the next one. And again, it would feel more like a series than a. a movie,
Right.
but
Right. Yeah, I think that there's I think there's a possibility. Like, honestly, if they did a TV show, I wouldn't be mad if they did something like that, but that's kind of stretching it. I'd rather they just have them make a third movie and the franchise be done with it. Because them doing a TV show would, in my mind, just be milking it. Because then, what is it? It's like a Batman and Robin scenario. Then it's just another villain of the week, one after the next.
yeah.
Um, I'm also just because going back to this because I did just pull this up. I'm trying to look at movie sequels. I'm not including the Winnie the Pooh movies because those don't count. Those are always fantastic. Those are always good. The Lilo and Stitch ones are never as good. Which I guess technically you might count as a part of the Disney Renaissance era. They never did one for Big Hero 6. They haven't done one for Encanto. Uh, Actually, I'm looking at some of these and just going, some of these movies in general that were just like on their own are bad. Like Wish, Raya the Last Dragon.
I mean, yeah, Disney's definitely had a lot of misses, especially in recent history. It hasn't been nearly as consistent as old Disney was, and that's just a common criticism. Like, that's not an original thought by any means, but it is definitely like a big conversation piece for Disney fans in general, especially with things like Wish being so like,
Wish.
oh, this is the or no, not Wish. Oh, it was no, Wish was the one with the 100th anniversary one, right? That was the big like,
That was
oh,
Chris Pine played the villain.
that no, that was that, but that was Wish. What I'm saying is the Wish, which is the one that I didn't even watch, was supposed to be like the, oh, we're pulling in elements from all the Disney movies, and it's the 100-year anniversary celebration, and it was like horrible, and everyone hated it, and like I didn't even see it because I didn't really care. I heard the reviews were bad and said no, thank you.
I tried putting it
But
on. I just turned it off about like 25% through because I couldn't finish it. Um,
yeah,
I didn't really like it
but
all that
back
much.
Back to Zootopia 2, you talked about how you guessed the twist villain, the
Yeah.
Paubert being the villain.
Yeah.
My friend also guessed it. He didn't tell me that he guessed it, but he did claim that he guessed it. And I didn't personally, but I also wasn't really I should have expected it given that they had a twist villain in the first one and they had a twist villain in the second one. It's not the most shocking thing in the world. But what I will say is Paubert is a much better villain than I looked up her name and I forgot it already. Bellwether. He is a much better villain. In fact, there were certain scenes in there. My friend said that it was very reminiscent of Death from Puss in Boots, at
Kind of.
least in certain like shots and like not necessarily theme, but there were certain shots. And I think that's one of the reasons why I love him so much is because he feels really deranged. He gets more and more deranged after the big reveal. He starts out as this really nice guy. He's just trying to be like not just trying to be, but he is the weirdo of the family. He's the black sheep and he's okay with that. And then the big
Right.
reveal that no, he's not okay with being the black sheep of the family. He actually is really upset that he is outcast from his family and he really has a need to be a part of his family and it drives him insane. And over the course of since the reveal to the end of the movie, you see him get more and more insane. And like I think it was like his last scene in the movie before he gets defeated. Like his whiskers are all curled. I don't know if he's missing teeth, but like his hair's all messed up and he looks like he is absolutely about to go on a killing spree. And I liked that progression way better than I ever had with Bellwether because you could say it was similar in the sense of like, oh, she's this innocent little character and she's just trying to be Miss Goody Two Shoes as the like whatever, and then oh twist, she is actually evil and she's also crazy. But it didn't feel to me as impactful as this one did, and maybe that's just because of how better they tied the thematic elements into his story
Sure.
than with Bellwether's story.
Sure. Um, yeah. I don't know. Again, I don't hate this villain. It's a good villain. It's just something that I easily predicted. And again, I think that Sandberg does a good job of just voice acting this character. However, I don't think it's my favorite voice acting performance from him because at the end of the day, his character to a certain extent is kind of bland. And I'm kind of surprised because I figured Sandberg would have tried to make him funnier earlier in the movie. Like he wasn't bad, but they didn't really give him much beyond I'm the black sheep family. I don't care. Maybe he stutters over himself once or twice, but that was it. They didn't really do much with him, and I figured that like again, when you have Gary, who's also kind of the straight man, and then you throw in what was his character's name? I don't even know how to say. Linksley, is that how you say it? Linksley, I think that's
Are
how
you
you say
talking
his
about
last.
it's the
Paubert.
Linksley family. Paubert is Andy Samberg's character name, but the family is the Linksley
But
family.
you look at Paubert, and he is this just uh I don't know how to say it. Like he literally just acts like a normal guy. They don't give him much beyond that, especially in the early scenes. You can resonate with him, but again, when Gary comes across, and again, Kaiki Kwan was just an innocent, sincere performance, giving a perfect character, straight man performance. It kind of mellows out Andy Samberg and a little bit. I don't know. I'm complaining about the fact that I just Andy Samberg just would have had more creative control to make some jokes or to add certain things here that Andy Samberg does a good job with, especially. And I'm not saying the movies are better, but in a film like Hotel Transylvania, when Samberg is like, "Hey, I can do whatever I want here," and he can just
Well, I
go
think
for it,
I
or
mean, they're
even
very different characters, but I think with Paubert, the main thing is like he isn't a jokey character. We have so many other jokey characters that I don't have any problem with him not being a jokey character. In fact, I think it would make no sense for his character to be funny in a
sure,
way because you set him up to be very endearing. You can immediately attach to him being the black sheep of the family and feeling like an outcast, and then striving to be normal essentially, or at least normal in his family's terms. And I think he does have a lot of heart, but specifically because of the Gary the Snake. I love his last name, by the way, being Des Snake. I thought that was
Does
absolutely
Snake.
hilarious.
Okay, thank you. What's really last name? Does Snake. Okay, he's not
And then you
joking.
see it on the mailbox at the end, and you
Yeah,
get a little giggle. But anyway, I think a lot of, like, Hubbard's story and the heart that he has is because of the heart you set up with Gary and their relationship. Because you don't get a lot of Hubbard by himself, and by the same extension, you don't really get a lot of Gary by himself until the end of the movie. You get a little bit of Paubert in the beginning when he's talking with Judy at the big, like, event, and
sure.
then you don't really see him again until he comes back with Gary in the desert. I think it was, well, no, it wasn't the desert. It was at the house where it's revealed, and then you get most of it in the desert.
Yeah.
But I think they set up the relationship between Gary and Pubbert to be that heart. And that's why it's like they don't need, neither of those characters are all that funny because everyone else around them carries the humor of it and they're the heart of the movie.
So I thought of a better example, and I don't even know if you saw this movie. If you didn't, go watch it because it actually is like it was phenomenal when it dropped. I think it dropped 2020 actually. The film was called Chippendale Rescue Rangers the movie. This was Andy Samberg and John Mulaney. This was a film that I don't even know how to describe it. It made references, it was adult, it was funny, it was creative, but the whole point of the movie is they're pulling in different references from different franchises. So you randomly had Randy Marsh from South Park pop in, or Homer Simpson would pop up randomly. Like what I mean, it was the most out there character moments, and you're just like, where did this come from? Where did this character doing here? Like again, Randy Marsh from South Park was in a Disney movie. I just want to point that out there. But Sandberg in that movie, I don't remember which one he plays, but it's a similar character in the sense of he is a very lovable, just normal guy. I almost said guy, squirrel, I guess, chipmunk. Uh, but he gets to be creative and be funnier. I get the characters aren't exactly the same, but I still feel like if Disney's like Sandberg has proven numerous times over and over again that he can just be creative, be funny, and make it make sense within the character. Why wouldn't you give him more freedom to do that here? Especially when you have the money to animate it, you have the money to make a longer runtime budget. I mean, I just didn't see the reason as to why that wasn't
Well,
possible.
I think the problem that you have is you see, oh, it's Andy Samberg, therefore it needs to be funny. I disagree. I like that Andy Samberg has the opportunity to play a character that isn't funny, that is more of the crazy character, because you offset. That's why I like Paubert as a villain, is because everyone around him is so funny. There's so much the Zebros. I love the Zebros. The Zebros are the homies. They're
Did
so
you
funny.
did you know
Every
that
time they
the Zebras are
Mm,
both played by WWE wrestlers?
really? Okay, I
Ro
did not, but
Roman
that
Reigns and
is
CM Punk are both the voices of the Zebras.
okay. I saw them at the premiere, like the photos of the premiere, and I was like, okay, that's weird. I don't know who they're playing in the movie, but that's really funny. But they're hilarious. You have so many hilarious characters that I like that they have a character in the movie or two characters in the movie that one ends up being the villain that are solely there to be the heart of the movie. And then when you break that heart apart, one becomes even more the heart of the movie and even more endearing, and one goes to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and just becomes more and more psychotic. And I
Yeah.
guess that's where some of his humor does come in. But as he loses his mind, as he becomes more desperate, like one of my favorite scenes of him is the scene where he gets revealed, and it's him going through the heating area, the control room where they have to flip the switch, and it's the dichotomy between the cold and the heat, and he's like going through his rampage because he's so like methodical about it. He
Yeah.
is so like he goes from being this character that's just a goofball, like he's just like he does have some humor to him, but he's just really endearing, to this
Yeah.
really like methodical character who's like, I had all this planned out, I'm gonna do all of this, and then once his plan breaks, he breaks and he goes the psychotic route.
Yeah. Again, I'm complaining needlessly, and I was trying to say that to begin with. Again, I don't hate it by any means. I just, in my mind, because it's Andy Samberg, I feel like there's a wasted opportunity with that. But it didn't bother me. Oop, and my dogs are barking at somebody coming into my house. Uh,
Well, and again, I think that's fine, but again, I like when actors get to play characters that like you're
sure.
arguing for like the, oh, it's Andy Samberg, it has to be funny. Like that's the typecast of Andy Samberg. I'm arguing in the sense of like I like that Andy Samberg wasn't the funniest thing in this movie, because if you want to get funny Andy Samberg in an animated format, go watch Hotel Transylvania, or you want to just get the funniest thing that Andy Samberg's ever done, obviously Brooklyn Nine-Nine. Like
Sure.
if you want to see Andy Samberg comedy, you
If
can
you want
watch
to
all
see,
those other
yeah,
things, watch him in
he
SNL.
doesn't he doesn't
Let
have to be
him
funny
be
every
some
time.
let him be something
Yes.
different in this movie so that you can see that he has layers behind him. And I know he's also stretched it. Like those aren't Andy Samberg has also played other characters that aren't the funniest character, but like I like that in this movie with so much humor in it, you have the one character that's like known to be a comedian, known to be hilarious, not be the funniest guy in the room.
This movie also had some unintentional humor with its casting. And I say that because Patrick Warburton's in this movie. Patrick
Yep.
Warburton plays the mayor, and the entire time I kept
Mhm.
thinking, "That's Joe Swanson from Family Guy. That's
I
Patrick
kept I
Warburton."
I kept thinking, that's, Gronk.
Gronk.
Yeah, I literally like, the second he opened his mouth, I was like, "That's Gronk."
That's
Like,
not Mayor Windancer. No,
nope,
that's Gronk and Joe Swanson from Family. Patrick Warburton has made his livelihood based off of voice acting. You know what? No, it wasn't even it was Ken from B Movie. That's my defining Patrick Warburton performance. That character is so stupid. That movie is so
that's
stupid.
fair. That's fair.
Hello, B.
Yeah. He is very hilarious in that movie. Is it a good movie? No. Is it absolutely
That
ridiculously hilarious because of how stupid it is? Like, the B movie is like, The Room, but for animated
yeah,
movies.
I agree with that. But again, Patrick Warburton is just he's good in everything he does. And this movie had the unfortunate thing of we've had so many memes with Patrick Warburton characters that whenever you hear his voice, you just go, "Oh no, what's gonna happen? What are they gonna do?"
Well,
It's
my
so funny.
My only complaint with him, and maybe I'll get outvoted on this, like, I think it's totally, like, fair to not have this, same criticism, but it does just kind of sound like every other character he's ever done.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. His voice is iconic. You want to use the iconicity of his voice. I just I don't know. I wish he would have done something a little different. Maybe that's just me, but because and it's Kronk, not Gronk. I mispronounced it, but I think that the fact that I immediately thought of all of his other characters he's ever played, and I couldn't. Maybe this is just a me thing, and it is similar maybe to you for the Andy Samberg thing, but it is that he didn't do anything unique with his character like Andy Samberg did, and
Yeah.
it just at least from a vocal perspective it, like, just sounded like
I
all
think
of his other
yeah, I
characters.
think the thing with Patrick Warburton that is different for Andy Samberg is first off, Warburton's way older than Samberg. Secondly,
Yeah.
he is probably a very rich actor who doesn't have to do anything different to get that paycheck. They will cast him because his voice is iconic. It's similar to another person in this movie, which it's different because he does do something different. But Danny Trejo, who is a very famous Hispanic voice actor. He's in Breaking Bad as a bit role. Uh, he does everything. Danny Trejo's in this movie, but he does something different. Patrick Warburton doesn't really, but he also doesn't and I can't like frown against it because like he doesn't do anything wrong, but he's also not doing anything different. But he doesn't have to. Like you got exactly what
Yeah.
you got out of him when you cast him in it. Um, you
I
know,
will say, speaking about Danny Trejo, when Jesus came on screen and I looked at the character and I was like, I feel like I know who's gonna voice this. And then he opened his mouth and I turned my friend and I was like, that's Danny Trejo. I was like, yup,
it was either that or I went, is that Rango? Is that Johnny Depp's Rango?
that is exact actually that's what my friend said. But I was thinking to myself, I was like, oh, that looks like Rango, but I feel like that's like when he opened his mouth, I was like, yeah, that's Danny Trejo. I will say it would have been hilarious if it was. I know Johnny Depp doesn't want to work with Disney, obviously, and for good reason, but it would have been hilarious if they had the character that is literally just knockoff Rango, voiced by
Voiced by
Johnny
Johnny
Depp.
Depp. I look for Jesus. I'm gonna be completely honest here. That's how he left the screen at the end of his scene. That's how I want to leave every family outing and every party. Just, all right, I'm gonna help you out. Go, 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 and just run across.
That
Like,
That was one of the biggest laughs out of me and my friend. Like, we both, like, looked at each other, like, dying. Because, like, obviously, you could have guessed something was gonna happen because of the type of lizard that he is, but if you don't know all that much about animals, like, it is just so funny to see him be like, "Okay, you need to do this, this, this to get out of this. Bye." Whoosh. Like,
um,
just
what
goes out.
while we are in that section, because I do want to talk about this briefly. I mean, we talked about the adult humor. We talked about how there's an adult thing. They do have some kid humor in here, and it's not that it's not funny, but like you have the whole, and because he did get a chuckle out of me, you have the whole walrus bit, or were they walruses? Is that they were walruses, right?
I believe no, well, because it might be a sea lion because they make a point with no, it's not a sea lion because the one character is a sea lion and it looks different. Like, maybe it was a tuskless walrus, maybe it was a different type of sea lion, I don't know, but
Doesn't matter. That whole bit when he pops out of the water, and he just stares at you. Hey, bub. Hey, bub. Hey, bub. Hey,
yep.
hey, bub. You're like, okay, that's kids humor right there. Because like I got a chuckle out of me, but like on rewatch, I'm gonna sit there and go, that's really stupid. The only one with those creatures that really got me was when he's paddling on the boat and he's just staring at them while he's doing like the backstroke. Oh, it's your anniversary. Just turns on the
Yep.
lights. And I
That
go,
that
that's
was
great. I'm like,
hilarious.
that's fantastic. Good job. That's great. But they do have some kid humor in this movie that kids will enjoy. And that
Oh,
I brought that up as like a good example of like that's about like the extent of kids humor. So it's not unbearable, but it's in there.
well, and I appreciate, like, it's funny you say that because before before the movie started, my friend turned to me and he's like, if they make one singular 6-7 reference in this movie, I'm walking out no matter how good the movie is. And I was like, you know what? Valid. However, I do think that 6-7 became a thing probably way after this movie was
Oh yeah.
produced. So that's not a big worry. But like, I turned to him and I was like, no, that's totally valid. And that's one of the things why I like the humor in this movie so much is because it doesn't play off of like any stupid like it is just genuine humor
Yeah.
both from an adult perspective and from a just kid perspective. I think one of the like a lot of the kid humor was funny. I just think it's the adult humor, and I think the reason why I remember the adult humor is, 1, I'm the target audience, but 2, just because of how shocking some of it was. They had
Sure.
a threesome and a foursome joke in here
Yes.
that was, like, very in your face deliberate, but like a, "Wow, I can't believe they just said that in that way in this
Right.
movie." Like,
Right.
it's gonna go over kids' heads, but, like, still, it was a very, like, boom.
uh Honestly, just that whole reptile section's really clever. Like they're just walking around and Nick's doing all the wrong things. Don't do that. Don't do that. People come here because they don't like to wear pants, and you just look to your left and you say, okay, and that guy's pantsless.
Yep.
It's no, it's just really clever and it's funny humor. Um I will say I'm also surprised that Clawhauser doesn't get as much to do in this movie because he was a bigger character in the first movie. It doesn't disappoint me by any means. I get that it's Judy and Nick on the run and that you're focusing on them. I mean, Chief Bogo uh, pieces out around like the 30-minute mark of the movie and doesn't come back till the end. So I completely get uh, Clawhauser not being in this. It just surprises me
Yeah.
because he was a big part of the first movie.
Yeah, he did a few things. Like you had the really, and this is another one of those like kids. Oh, thank you for actually bringing that up because he actually played a part in my favorite joke in the entire movie. But I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Clawhauser doesn't play a big role. He helps out a little bit. He is present in the movie, but it is like you're pushing away a lot of the characters for small, like call them cameos, essentially from the first movie to focus on characters like Nibbler and the other, Gary
Gary.
and Paul Bird and all the new characters, which I like actually that you kind of have that.
Yeah.
But my favorite joke in the entire movie, and there's no topping this because of the line of work that I do is, and you probably don't even remember this joke because it probably didn't have any resonance with you, but I turned to my friend and I was like, "That is the best joke in this entire movie when it happened." Was the IT, I think he's a mouse, maybe a mole, is typing at your computer, and this is when what Clawhauser is like snooping on him because he needs to get access to a computer to get info from him. And he's typing away at his computer and he's talking to someone and he's like, "Have you tried restarting your computer? Have you tried not being an absolute idiot?" And I was like, "Oh my god, he gets me.
He
This is
understands.
I work in the like I've answered tickets before. I work in the IT department and there are times where you will get someone and you'll be like, "Have you tried not being an absolute fucking moron?" And that that joke right there, I felt seen as a person
I
with the
I
frustrations
felt
that I
seen.
feel at work and just like in general, like even in college, helping people out and trying to answer technical questions. Like I sat there and I was like, this mouse or whatever animal he is, he gets me. I've never felt so seen in a movie before by a throwaway joke.
Oh, that is funny, man. I love the Godfather reference. I know that one probably doesn't hit you as hard, but I love the Godfather reference. That one's always funny to me.
Well, and we
Uh,
did get that in the first movie as well. Like he is another returning character from the
he
first
was
movie.
yeah, he was the most random returning character because he pulls it was like, I like one of you, so I'm gonna help you, and he gives them a whole
Yep.
new life. And it's, she's like, "Hi, kiss the ring." Oh, I'm good. Kiss the ring. It's like the first time you see his
Yeah.
eyes, like, oh my god. I'm like, he's gonna kill you. Just kiss the ring, bro. It's not worth it.
Yeah, your life is not worth a little kiss on the ring. Like, do it now.
That was a good joke when Nick goes, "Look, this is the underworld. This is my part. Let me handle this." Kevin. Oh, and is it Raymond? He doesn't even get the name Raymond out, and they just grab him, and you're like, okay, well, good job. I'm so happy that you did such a good job there.
Yeah. I will say, so it is funny because you have the big conflict of this movie outside of Paul Bird is the relationship between Nick and Judy. And they set it up where none of the characters have really changed since the last movie. And I think that actually makes total sense. I think
Sure.
that the way they leave off the characters in the last movie, there is a lot of unresolved, especially now that they're having to work more closely together. I and they're riding the high off of because this movie takes place a week after the last movie, which is kind of crazy given that it's been God, how many real world years, and we'll talk about that
Right.
during our Stranger Things thing, but it's been how many real world years since the last movie came out, and there's still so much animosity there in a way, like unrealized animosity. I loved the therapy animal like joke there. I'm your therapy animal, and it's just this cute little fuzzy thing.
Yeah.
But Nick is too much. He is like, oh, that actually, that was the joke that the girl turned to her parent is like, why is that funny? Because when Judy and Nick are talking on the platform, he's like, I have a bunch of unresolved childhood traumas that I need to deal with. And me and my friend like bursted out laughing, and the kid was like, why is that funny? I'm like, oh honey, let's hope you never
Oh,
realize why that joke is so funny. Like
yeah.
the girl was probably 4 or 5 years old, like, like, tiny little thing. I was like, "Let's hope you never understand why that
Let's
joke
hope
is
you
as
don't.
funny as it
Yeah.
is." But,
Yeah.
yeah, with Nick being, like, the internalized, he has family problems, he has, like, insecurities in his life, and Judy also has insecurities, but it's kinda like the opposite end of the spectrum of, like, needing to be the perfectionist, needing to prove herself, like, Nick has nothing to prove, she has everything to prove. I think that that really works. I I guess this is a little bit of a complaint, and maybe it's just me. I feel like it was a lot more one-sided. Like, it was a lot more like Judy was always more right than Nick. Like, Nick was always more the butt of the problem and made out to be more of the problem. Maybe that's just the way that I read it, but like Judy just always happened to be right. Like the first time that she was wrong, and really the only major time that I can think of that she was wrong was when they dive into the tube and you can't breathe and she passes out. Like, she was wrong, but she was right about everything else. She just goes about it the wrong ways and it rubs Nick the wrong way. But you can make the argument it's like, oh, but she was still right. So like Nick's more in the wrong. And I'm not saying
Sure.
that's a problem. That's just one thing that I was like, maybe you could have balanced this a little more in terms of when you get the payoff on like, well, I side way more with Judy because she was just right the whole time as opposed to
Sure.
siding with Nick. Like there it seems like they were trying to make it a lot more one-sided than maybe they should have, or maybe they intended to, with being it like we're both in the wrong here. Maybe that's just me. I'm curious if you felt the same way, but
No, I didn't really see that. I could see how people can see it like that, but I didn't really see that as much. I thought it was all well done, in all honesty. Like, I thought God, this is hard because I need to rewatch that first movie, because, like, it's moments like this where we're talking about things that, like, "Do you feel this? Do you feel this?" It's like, I could easily tell you that the first movie may be better than the second one, or I could tell you that the second one's better than the first movie. I just haven't seen that first movie in so long, and I feel like I need that movie to really. It's like the How to Train Your Dragon thing. We needed to rewatch that to fully knew how we felt. I feel like I should have done that here with this. Um, so I don't know.
okay, that's
Yes,
fair.
I'll go with yes. I don't know. I didn't really see anything like that. I can see how people may have, but I didn't see it as a big problem for me, if at all.
Okay, that's fair. I think my last thing that I'll talk about, and I'll let you like wrap up your thoughts as well, unless you have anything else
Sure.
major you want to talk about. Um,
Not really. I think we wrapped up. We pretty much said everything. So
Yeah, again, I think I'll say this and then I'll say my final thoughts.
yeah,
And I did mention this in my original thoughts. I think that this is the best, and maybe this is hyperbole and maybe this is recency bias, but I do genuinely believe this is probably the best looking Disney movie
it's
ever.
flawless. It's very seamless. It all
Like
flows
it
together very
is.
well. The color schemes are really nicely put together. The just creative choices for the designs of certain characters are really well done. And again, look, we've seen some of them 10 years prior. This because it's the first one's almost 10 years old next year. Uh, but it's just such a well executed, well put together, well thought through movie that you can't help but see just the care and the passion that the animators put behind making it. It looks really good.
So I just realized something.
Yeah,
And I don't know if you put two and two together on this. So we're talking about two properties today. We're talking about Zootopia and we're talking Zootopia 2 and Stranger Things. the first season of Stranger Things came out the same year as Zootopia 1 did.
Yeah, that's interesting, isn't it? I didn't clock that till, like, after I'd watched Zootopia 2.
I didn't clock that until you just said 9 years, and I was like, "No, you're right, it came out in 2016. The first season of Stranger Things came out in 2016." So it's just a little thing that I wanna just think is funny. You talk about the character designs, some of the character designs, maybe a little too sexy. Why you need to make Gazelle all curvy like that? Why? I mean, it's voiced by Shakira and all that, but like Shakira be moving her hips. What were they doing at Burning Man? Why were the tigers looking like that at her? What I don't know, but
I'm looking at my phone. I am not having any part of this conversation. Go ahead.
No,
Go
no,
ahead.
no, but no, I mean, Shakira was in the first movie, she ended it out. I think, like, the song that they had, really good, really catchy. It's not, like, gonna be like, "Oh, I'm gonna add that to my playlist," but, like, it was a
Sure.
good song, and anything sung by Shakira, for the most part, is gonna be really good. It was just a nice thing where she kinda started and ended the movie. But yeah, to wrap up my thoughts, I think that the core themes with the classism was really interesting. And the whole, like, I think that's another thing. They play off the types of animals very well because the lynxes are very territorial animals. So it makes sense that their arc would be a very territorial focused thing. And it is the same with like foxes being sly and bunnies being very like group oriented, breeding big families. I think that like all of those like tropes, if you'll call them, and the way that they play into the characters are very well represented here, especially as you introduce more characters. Again,
Sure.
flawlessly animated movie. All the voice cast brings in really good performance. It's a star-studded cast. I mean, Robert Irwin makes a 5-second appearance as a koala, which I loved because I love Robert. I mean, the Irwin family means a lot to me and my family in a lot of ways. I had the opportunity to meet Bindi and Robert. Like, God, like Robert was like 5, I think. But like the Irwin family means a lot. So like having that cameo was nice, especially
Sure.
in a movie that's so focused on animals and conservation and the importance of territory for animals and their upkeep
Sure.
and well-being. I think that was like very nice. But like overall, good movie, really good time. Like the first thing I did after I got out of this movie is like I texted my family and I was like I don't do this often. Like I see a lot of movies, but most of them my family wouldn't be interested in. But I was like, you need to see Zootopia 2. Like I really think that this is like an absolutely like go see this in theaters. And what I'm not saying like you don't have to rush out to see this in IMAX. I think the Dolby Atmos experience was very nice, but it is more expensive. But like any format you can see or afford, like go see this movie in theaters. Go see it with a group of people that you can laugh with. Comedies are always better with an audience, in my opinion.
Sure.
But yeah, I think overall Zootopia 2, I personally think it's better than the first. I understand why people might like the first one better, but blown away by just how good this sequel was.
Sure. Yeah. Um, I agree with all the same things that you said. I'm slowly rushing through this because there's one other property. We already said it. Oh, for God's sakes, Brandon, I'm a little pissed off that I'm hosting here because I can't go first. Give me some history, and then give me your thoughts on season 5, part 1 of Stranger Things.
Yeah, so I know we already did this, but I am going to do this again because I understand, I guess, that people might skip around a little bit. And I just want to give this again. Big spoiler warning for Stranger Things. There is a lot of major things that happen, and I'm not gonna hold my punches on Stranger Things. Like there will be spoilers throughout my entire thoughts of this. So I know we already said it, but I am going to reiterate it in case you skip to the timestamp in the description that said Stranger Things conversation. Big spoiler warning. You have been warned. My history with Stranger Things is an interesting one. I watched Stranger Things back when it came out in 2016, and I liked it. I liked the first season, but I was not the target audience. I have never been a horror fan. Until recently, I really haven't watched all that much horror. This year, I've watched more horror than I watched in the entire previous, 23 years of my life. And so when Stranger Things came out, it wasn't something that I immediately was like, oh, I need to go watch this. But a lot of people were talking about it. It was the big thing from Netflix. So I was like, I'll check it out. And I thought it was a good show, but I also was kind of like a little resentful because I went in and was like, everyone's saying that this is the second coming of Jesus Christ. And to me, it wasn't. So I watched the first season and had a decent enough time. I watched the second season and was like, okay, this is whatever. I watched the third season and again was kind of like, okay, this is cool. And I'm getting older again. Like I watched this in 2016 and I'm only 23 years old. So I wasn't that I mean, I'm older than some of the kids in the show. So, like, not by many years, but like I was the kid's age, but I don't think I was the target demographic for the show. So over the years, I just kind of like I think I watched it from the wrong lens, is what it is, because I actually didn't finish season 4. I watched the first episode of season 4 and was like, I don't know why I'm doing this. It's been so long since the previous season. I don't have any interest in doing a rewatch. And I don't know why. Like there was nothing there for me to connect me. So when we were looking at the schedule and the final of Stranger Things was coming out, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a rewatch. I'm not gonna just go in and finish season 4 and watch the rest of it. I am going to go in and I'm gonna watch all of Stranger Things again. Now, I made an interesting decision where I procrastinated until the last minute and I watched Stranger Things. I started it on Monday and we're recording this on Sunday, but realistically, I finished this yesterday. I have had Stranger Things running in my household almost nonstop, other than sleep and a few other things, and Thanksgiving since Monday. And I have watched all of that. And I fucking love it. It's one of my favorite shows of all time now. I think that having the lens of diving into things like an It, which a lot of this feels very It. I know there's also like comparisons to ET because of the kids and things like that, but like this show, I one of my biggest regrets after rewatching this is that again, I did watch all of the seasons other than season 4 as they came out, but I wasn't as engaged and I don't have as much of a connection because I haven't watched it over as many years. But now that I have, like, my personal rankings of the seasons is probably my most controversial take. I think I have a lot of like very like expected takes, but I do think that my take on my ordering of the seasons is very controversial. And that would be season 4 is my favorite season, then season 1, 3, 2. And I don't think season 2 is a bad season. I know a lot of people think season 2 is a bad season. I don't think it's a bad season. It has the most universally accepted not good episode in it, but I think overall season 2 is still a strong season. But for me, the season 4 finale alone is the best episode of Stranger Things, hands down. And then from there, it just kind of like it's all really good. I think that the story of Stranger Things is really interesting, but where Stranger Things strives is its characters. And again, this is where I go into more of the like stereotypical expected. Like Steve is the best character in Stranger Things. If you disagree, you're objectively wrong. Steve is the best character. After that, I love all the characters relatively equally. Like I love Murray, I love Hopper, I love Eleven, I love Lucas, I love Mike. I think all their character arcs are really interesting. I think the only character that I don't like is Nancy, and that's just because she's a habitual cheater and I don't like cheaters. And there's nothing that you can really do to make me sympathize with her because she physically cheats on Steve in season 2 and then mentally cheats on Jonathan with Steve in season 4. So I just don't like her because of that. And I hope she ends up alone. That's, I guess, a controversial take, maybe, but I hope Steve and Nancy and Jonathan and Nancy, I hope none of that happens. I hope Nancy's alone. But I think my enjoyment of Stranger Things maybe comes from the fact that I watched it all in succession, but it is quickly skyrocketed from a show that I watched as it dropped in thinking, why is this everyone like praising the show so much? To like I wish I was there praising it with them from the beginning, even though I watched it with all of them. So, like, I'll get into a lot more of my thoughts as I talk about how it connects with Stranger Things season 5 and how it influences my thoughts on Stranger Things season 5. But I think in terms of like my history with Stranger Things, it's a checkered one, but it's also a funny one of going from like, I don't like this to this is like top 5 shows of all time for me.
Mm, yeah. Um, my history with with seasons 1 through 4, really. I was somebody who watched Stranger Things. I didn't watch it immediately once season 1 dropped. It was a little after, but uh as season 1 was releasing, my friend had told me that he had got cast as an extra in the show. It was called Stranger Things. I had heard of it, never seen it. Basically, because I was a young kid at the time, asked my parents, "Can I watch this?" They said, "Sure, whatever." So I watched it, and I fell in love with the first season. I thought it was great. I watched season 2 the day it came out, and I fell in love with it. This was a show that I grew up with. Like, we talk about shows that we grew up with. I grew up with The Flash. I grew up with not the one from the 90s. I do need to specify that. I grew up with Grant Gustin's Flash show. I grew up with Arrow. Um, I grew up with shows like that, and I grew up with Stranger Things. So even coming to now, like season 5, there's just like such a weight for me to watch the show. Like I like genuine, like depressing, sad weight because of how much I love this show purely just on a nostalgic factor. So that being said, do I think that Stranger Things is a 10 out of 10 perfect show? No, they do have flaws, and we will talk about some of those flaws, I'm sure, at some point today. Uh, they do make mistakes. Some things aren't the best. Does that mean it is god awful when it's bad? No. If it's bad, it's mostly mid. I would say that's the argument, and maybe even that's a stretch. Um, mid might even be a strong word for it. Stranger Things is just a delightful watch filled with, I think, what it probably is some of the best character work I've seen for any TV show, at least between relationships. And again, for me, and this is just like the biased part of me that's coming through with a bunch of this, because again, I love this show so much. There is, you love to watch the Steve Dustin relationship grow. Early on, you liked seeing the Jonathan Nancy relationship grow. Mike 11, Hopper 11, I think is a big one. Joyce and Hopper, like every character in the show in some way, some form has a connection to one another, but they all build off of each other so well. And season 1, what worked so well about season 1, why I do think season 1 is pretty damn close to perfect. Season 1, their story was all told through the character work. So as the characters were discovering things, you would discover things. um, in later seasons, it became less and less that you were more spoon fed, like, here's what's happening, and you just kind of went on. Like seasons 2 and 3 were very much like that. There's not so much mystery as much as it's like, oh, okay, you're just told everything, and then you're just watching the character work. It doesn't make it awful. Again, when the character work is absolutely outstanding, it's beautiful. Um, but when season 4 rolled back around, it reintroduced the idea of, okay, we're going to learn as the characters learn, and the story's going to be progressed this way. It still wasn't as strong as season 1, uh, but it was handled very, very well. So much so that God, I'm going to get flack for it. I don't even want to say it. I might like season 4 more than season 1, but I also acknowledge
I
that
said it.
I,
Season 4 is my favorite season. It's season 4, 1, 3, 2, and
but
I'll take all the hate in the world for it.
I also acknowledge that you can't have season 4 without season 1, or the previous seasons, mind you.
I mean, that's how seasons work, yeah.
That's the thing with Stranger Things is like, even if this is better, you can't get that better for somebody. Like if you tell somebody you should watch Stranger Things because season 4 is the greatest thing ever, they have to watch all the other seasons. There's a chance that people could just ditch it by that point if they don't like it enough. But season 4 is quite literally goated. Um, they have some great guest appearances of just like random actors, and you're like, that's a great role. Where did this come from? Like Sean Astin is Bob Newby. Huh? That works so well. And then they kill him off. Uh Linda Hamilton's in the 5th season. She's a big 80s actor. Most notably, she's from like the Terminator franchise. She's in this as the Dr. K, as the doctor in Stranger Things season 5. Um, Obviously, you have Joseph Quinn as Eddie. He's a bit character in this, but he's really good. Uh, oh my God, I'm gonna get his name wrong, but the guy who plays Oh my god, I just watched season 4. Who plays the good doctor? Not Dr.
Oh,
Brenner,
Dr.
that's Papa.
Owens.
Owens, thank you. I don't know Paul Reiser. I just looked at the cast list. Paul Reiser. Paul Reiser, who's a big 80s actor, is in this, and he does a good job. Look, I'm gonna wrap up my thoughts here because we're gonna go back and forth, and there's a lot we gotta say about season 5. Season 5, I have some thoughts. Not bad thoughts, but let me just start off by saying it took me a second to get into this. it
Do
it
you
took me a second.
do you want me to give my thoughts on season 5 and then you give your thoughts and then we get into the back and
Yeah,
forth?
go
Since
go
I'm not really
go
gonna
go ahead and do that now. Oh, hold on. I do want to say one thing, and this is just kind of fun. Uh, I've performed with the guy who plays Andy in the show, one of the jocks. It's a bit of a random tidbit thing. I just think that's super cool. Good job, Clay. Way to make it in the acting world, buddy. Sorry, just a cool random thing that I like to throw in
little
there.
humble brag.
Right? Yeah.
So yeah, we're not gonna go back and forth on like the other seasons of like again, the conversation that we'll have like back and forth about the other seasons of Stranger Things is going to be very focused on how it ties into season 5. That's just the way we're gonna do it. But we are gonna the we're gonna give our I'm gonna give my thoughts on season 5 and then we'll go into our back and forth. And Stranger Things season 5 is very hit or miss for me. I think for me, I was immediately locked in on it. I immediately got engaged back in, and then it kind of pushed me away. My biggest problem with it is it doesn't feel like the final season of Stranger Things. It feels like another season of Stranger Things. The reason why I say that is because they're spending much more time on introducing more questions and more plot elements and more characters than they're spending on wrapping up stories and characters and plot lines. Like there are a few, and we'll talk about those, but they have so many more things that are introduced than they've wrapped up so far. Even the stuff with Vecna and the new elements that they're introducing with Vecna that are different than the stuff that Vecna did in season 4, it just doesn't feel like they're building towards an ending. Like we are halfway through the season. Like I hope people realize this, and this is why this is a complaint of mine, and it like I'll call it a complaint, is we are halfway through the season. There are only 3 more episodes, and yes, those episodes are a little longer, with the last episode being about 2.5 hours, the same length as the season 4 finale. This is still the halfway point and we haven't wrapped up almost anything, and I
Yeah.
don't love that. Every episode is very good. All of the characters are very good. It is still very Stranger Thingsy, and I think that's why I still love this season so far, is because I love the other seasons of Stranger Things. But with the like thought process of going in of this is the wrapping up of a story 9.5 years in the making, it doesn't feel like that, and we're halfway through that. And I think that all of the character moments are really working for me. I think the only character I don't like, and I actively don't even, I hate them when they're on screen, is I don't like Dr. K. I think that introducing Dr. K, the performance is flat. It sounds like she was asked to be in Stranger Things because it had to do with an 80s property, and she's like, Linda's a well known actor from the 80s, and she's like, cool. Are you going to pay me like millions of dollars? And they were probably like, yes, we're going to pay you millions of dollars. And she said yes. And she phoned in a performance. I don't have any connection with her on screen. She feels like another generic, like, oh, I'm the evil government person and I'm the new, like, I much would have rather, and I'm blanking on his name, and I tried to find it before this, but the general character from the season 4 that was the main driving villain character of that season from the military perspective,
You would have
I
much rather
wish
had him.
that he would have been like disgruntled and he was continuing to hunt after 11 to prove himself right and redeem himself, instead of bringing in another new character that now you have to maybe care about their villain. And like that doesn't work for me. And then when you introduce the stuff with Vecna, and now you're introducing even more elements, like why does Vecna want these kids? I know we're going to get an explanation, but again, you're not focusing on wrapping up Vecna's character. It seems more focused on introducing more things with Vecna's character as opposed to wrapping up what you already set up with his character. And so,
Sure.
like, I know I'm starting out very negative, but like I want to get that stuff out of the way because I think all the actual character moments are really good. I think one that might be controversial is I love the stuff they're doing with Dustin right now. It makes
Mm,
so much sense the way that
yeah,
he's acting and the way that he is the only person who is actively caring about Eddie in that way because he had the most connection with Eddie. And
yeah,
people might complain because of like, oh, why is he fighting with Steve on this? And why is Steve being so antagonistic? There's been a year and a half since the last season in world continuity. There's
yeah,
a lot of time for them to go back and forth and for that relationship to be strained. And to be honest, I don't even need them to do flashbacks to set that up. I think it just logically makes sense that
yeah,
Steve would be upset that Dustin isn't coming to him and he's going to become more antagonistic to him. And Dustin becoming more and more like jaded because of Eddie and the way that everyone views Eddie as the bad guy. I think all of that stuff makes sense. I love that Will is finally getting his full circle moment and becoming the main character again. I will say the reveal of him having powers is very cool, and we'll talk about that in our back and forth. I think the only thing and the reason why I didn't like stand up and start cheering isn't just because like I don't have as much of a connection over the past 10 years, only like more recently is because it was literally spelled out for us in the other episodes. It was like, oh, maybe he can control I think they were a little more heavy-handed in this season with the storytelling. It
yeah.
felt like a little rushed in those ways where like we need to set up everything for Will having powers right now and say that he has a connection with the hive mind and he can see through everything so that when he gets the powers, I was like, okay, that's just the logical escalation of what they were setting up instead of being like, oh my God, I can't believe he did it. I think the only reason why I would freak out is because it is nice to see Will finally like step into a bigger role because
Doing
he's
anything.
yeah, he's always been the like plot device in every other season. He is just the convenient character to be there, and he's like barely in season 1 at all. So it's nice to see him get his full circle moment. I think, and I've already talked about this. I don't like the love triangle between Nancy, Steve, and Jonathan. The only reason why is because I think it makes perfect sense for the Jonathan, Nancy, and Steve stuff if Steve wasn't leaning into it. I think it makes no sense for Steve to be engaging with this. He very clearly has no romantic interest in her, or at least he says he has no romantic interest in her, and then is immediately like showing romantic interest in her, and I think that makes no sense. I don't like that. I think that is bad writing. Maybe
When does he say that?
when he's competing against Jonathan to climb the tower specifically to show like for
Because
Nancy. Like,
because that's bullshit. That's complete bullshit.
what do you mean it's bullshit?
So okay, am I?
Okay, well, let me wrap up my thoughts and then we'll
You
go
wrap,
into back
yeah,
and forth. Okay.
you wrap up. Yeah, I'm not gonna even go
I
back.
know I'm getting a little bit more in depth again. I'm going way more in depth because there's 4.5, 5 hours worth of content, and I'm gonna have longer thoughts about that. But to wrap this, I'll wrap this up because I know you want to give your thoughts and get into back and forth, and that's what people are here for. But like overall, season 5, I like it, and there's a lot of all-time moments in here. I just think that there are a lot of like I don't like that they're setting up more than they're closing, being literally halfway through the season and just like, okay, we'll talk about some of my other stuff in the back and forth, but I will say, no, never mind. Everything else I'll say for the back and forth, but I have so much more to say about a lot of things. But yeah, that's my thoughts on season 5.
So I'm not so much worried about the runtime. This isn't me back and forth. This is just where I'm starting. I still had the same problems you did, except I think where it was they started off softer than I thought they would, but it's because they're building, and that episode 4 was the, I guess, tipping point for everything they've been building toward the logical escalation of everything getting more and more out of hand. And I kind of like that. I don't hate any of these episodes, mind you. I'd actually still go as far as to say this is really good Stranger Things. Everybody's together. Everybody is a one place. I agree with you about the Linda Hamilton bit. I hope they give her more to do because they're just not giving her anything. She's just there. I feel like they could give her something and we might get revealed something later, but they're not giving her anything. So there's not necessarily anything for me to latch onto except, oh, it's Linda Hamilton. Okay. But the runtime to me and the idea of, oh, we don't have enough time to wrap everything up. They're setting up so much. I don't think that's true at all. I haven't seen the runtimes yet. I don't think they've released it yet, but I would imagine considering they have 4 episodes left, the season's halfway over, that means we probably have another 6 hours of Stranger Things for them to be able to wrap things up in. them setting up something in season 5 doesn't mean that's going to not get paid off. That's the other thing you got to consider when and this was the Peacemaker argument too, because we were watching that week by week. Things have to take time to build over time. And so we will have these complaints now, but maybe in like a month from now, when it's all out, we will have completely different thoughts about something because we've seen the full picture. We know what it looks like from start to finish. Right now, this is how we feel purely because of what it looks like right now in this moment. Like if Stranger Things ended and we didn't get a part 2 to this part 1, yes, all these complaints are valid, but we need to see that eventually that part 2 to get a grasp of it. I don't hate the love triangle completely because season 4 set it up with Steve revealing to Nancy, like, hey, there was some, like, I told you the truth about that going camping and having all the kids, having all the Harringtons. The one piece that was missing was you were there. That was the last they had talked about in season 4. Season 5 is logically picking up where that is now that Jonathan's back, of them fighting over Nancy. That being said, it was funny for a little bit, and now I'm just like, I don't know how I feel about this anymore because like I didn't expect, like I expected them to fight for Nancy. I didn't expect them to fight in the way that they were fighting for Nancy, if that makes sense. However, I like what they're doing with Jonathan, and it kind of scares me for Jonathan's character, but I like that they're toying with the idea of he is going to propose to Nancy, which at the end of the day makes me feel like Nancy's going to choose Jonathan. I know I'm kind of getting into things too much here, but I'm just laying it out because it also feeds back into Dustin and Steve's relationship, which is more of a focal point relationship here. Dustin and Steve are getting distant. It worries me for Steve's character because could Steve make a sacrifice play for Dustin? Could Jonathan make a sacrifice play for Nancy? Could we end up with nothing? I'm losing my mind over this, FYI. The Hopper and 11 stuff is really good. It's kind of rehashed stuff. Like we've seen it before. It's not like they're doing anything new, but it is also at the same time because it's a different location, different setting. It's a different atmosphere because Hopper obviously wasn't around in season 4 to even have any of this. It is kind of rehashing, but it is really well done that you don't kind of care as much because it makes sense why this is kind of being rehashed now. Like this is dangerous. We are in the Upside Down. It's very different from 11 just going down in Hawkins' lab to close the gate in season 2. You know what I mean? It's a different breed of animal. So I understand why they would have this argument again. I like what they're doing with Joyce this time around. Like season 4, she was a fine character, but I like what they're doing with her now and being this like full powerful character who's wanting to just protect her kid. Mike is what, thank God for Mike, bro. Thank God he came out of a hole. There's that. Will came out of a hole, became a character again. And I love what they're doing with Will this season. Although this is my biggest complaint with the season, and it does factor into Will, unfortunately, a good portion of this. Some of the acting, I don't know what happened. There are some moments and some shots where I'm like, that's so not believable. And that's just like bad. And unfortunately, it is mostly Will. It's not in any big moments. Like all the big moments are really well done. But it's like I think that one moment I'm trying to think of the specific example I'm trying to think of, and I saw a video of it online earlier. But he's talking to Derek and his mom in the same shot, and like he's facing the gate before the Demogorgon comes and tackles it over at the barn, and he says something. He's like, "I can feel it. It's coming close," and there's like no emotion, and there's nothing. Like he's not giving any sort of like he's phoning in a performance. It's like moments like that, and I'm just like, that doesn't seem very good. I don't like that, especially when you look at other characters this season and they're just giving stellar performances. Like you mentioned, Dustin's one of your favorite characters so far. You like what they're doing with them. I agree with that. I love what they're doing with Dustin. I think it's great. I think that he's doing a phenomenal job. Mike and Lucas is all really good. The things that they've done with Max, I think, is pretty good too. We'll get into the back and forth. I'll wrap up my thoughts. I've said it pretty easily. I'm not gonna say that I hate that there's not a complete arc yet because there's not a part 2. But if part 2 comes around and we still have things that are not answered, I'm gonna lose my mind. So bear in mind that could happen. But go ahead.
Okay, I'm gonna break the fourth wall just for a second. Just keep in mind, the closer you get to your camera, the more out of focus it gets. Breaking
Yeah.
the fourth wall a little bit, just letting you know.
That
Um
I was locked in, bro. I had to get closer. I was, like, locked in. I'm trying to sit here think, like, "I gotta say this, gotta say this, gotta say
No,
this, gotta
that's
do
fair.
this."
That's fair. So this is going to be a long episode. I have so many things I want to touch on,
Oh my
and
god.
I'm sorry. I do. There's so much to talk
No,
about.
it's my fault too because I have so much I gotta say too, but also, like, we some of it we could actually save for, like, the second, but we're not gonna do that. Just start. Let's just start.
Okay, so I'm gonna say two things that maybe will be a conversation, maybe will be a very brief thing. Um, Stranger Things season 5 release cadence is horrible. Do not do this.
Yes,
This is a horrible, horrendous, disgusting release cadence, and I think it actively is going to hinder some people's, including myself, and this is coming from someone who just binge watch all of Stranger Things, enjoyment of the show. I think doing 4 episodes, waiting 3 weeks or whatever, giving 3 episodes and then 1 episode, I think it is a terrible release cadence. I don't understand why they did this whatsoever. I think that people have been waiting 10 years for this. Release it weekly so we can have conversations about it. Yes, there are still going to be conversations about it, but I think the importance of a show like this, when you're dropping each episode being an hour almost, like I think the shortest episode this season we've gotten so far is 50 minutes, like nearly an hour, and the longest is an hour and a half, and the last episode is going to be 2.5 hours, which is why they're releasing it by itself. I think just dropping like 5 hours worth of content at once is a horrible
yeah,
idea. And I think it takes away so much conversation, even though, yes, you're still allowing a gap until Christmas or whatever. I think this needs to be a weekly release. This has
I
to be
agree.
a weekly release.
I wouldn't even say that, like, I because season 4 did the time gap actually pretty well. I think the difference between season 4 and season 5 so far was there was a Vecna's plan has been revealed to us. We know what he's doing. We know we got a big twist with Will, and everybody's in a spot where it's like, okay, what's going to happen? We don't know, which is fine. Season 4 just did it better. Where because in case you don't know, because you didn't watch season 4 when it came out, season four's end, like part one and part two, ended with the reveal that Vecna was Henry Creel. It was
That
the
makes
reveal that
sense.
he was patient one, which I don't know if you guessed that from the first bit. That's not important. That doesn't matter here. That's where it ended. And Nancy was like in that fugue state. They were trying to break her out of it. That's where it ended. Everybody was on the edge of their seat. You waited a month, you got the rest of the episodes. That being said, for the love of God, I am every other season released all at once. And I get that they're trying to build anticipation. Then make it so that everything else is out except that final episode and only make us wait like a week before that final episode. Because like I I want to see this show in its entirety. It makes me it makes it hard for me to look at this as a complete project. Even right now, like reviewing it and going, yes, this is a 10 out of 10. I can't say it's a 10 out of 10 or not because I don't know what the complete story looks like. My entire plans and feelings could change for this depending on what the outcome is, and I don't know what that is. Um,
Yeah, well, so I'm glad you actually brought up the whole Vecna reveal in season 4, because I think the reason why I am sitting here and saying that the release cadence is horrible is because, and we'll talk about this more later, but the Mr. What's It reveal felt like nothing to me because they dropped all 4 episodes at once. There's no big like anticipation week to week about asking your friend, who do you think Mr. What's It is? What do you think's going on with that? You can just sit there for another 2 hours and find out who Mr. What's It is, and it felt like oh, it's Mr. What, or it's one, it's Henry, it's Vecna, ooh, big reveal, like, it takes all the weight out of sitting there and speculating, and maybe it isn't, like, even if the reveal is still, like, lackluster in the way that it's Henry, you at least have the week-to-week speculation of trying to maybe think of other characters who it could be. Maybe it's Eddie. Maybe it's Eddie the whole time. Maybe that's where Max comes in and all these guesses. Like, the fact that such a generic reveal is just given to you so quickly, it just kind of takes all the weight out of it for me. And I think it goes back to my complaints with the Will reveal with his powers. I love that he has powers. I think it makes sense. But the fact that you have a such on the nose conversation about Will having powers, and then 2 episodes, 3 episodes later, or whatever, and just a few like clicks away on Netflix in a few hours, he just has his powers. I think that those reveals mean so much more if you have the week to week speculation of, ooh, I wonder what's going on. And again, I don't give a shit how other seasons of Stranger Things reveal. I think it's just a valid complaint to begin with. And I know you're not
Sure.
trying to say that it's better or whatever. I'm
No, no,
not
no, no.
trying to dog on you for that. I'm just saying, like, I think as a release format, week to week for television, that is the benefit of television over movies. Is in a movie, you go in and you get a complete story. There's no week to week conversation. You have a conversation afterwards and you move on. TV, the benefit is you can have a conversation in between episodes and speculate and try to come up with
Uh,
theories and all of that. And to me, there is none of that because they're just giving you all of these reveals and they feel lackluster because they come so quickly. So,
yeah, and look, I'm not saying any of this is a bad thing. Like, even though it's the case, it's still fine. I'm not saying it's god awful that they revealed the way they did. It's still enjoyable. Here's the other thing, and I don't know if this plays a factor. That doesn't matter to me, the Mr. What's It reveal, because I knew who he was before the first episode even aired. Because there was, unfortunately, and this isn't Netflix fault. This is the fault of the American people, the society of people. There was a set leak that revealed Henry Creel in some 50s outfit outside of his house with the actress who plays Holly Wheeler. The title of the second episode when they revealed was The Vanishing of Blank Wheeler. I wonder who that's gonna be. You know, that might have been on Netflix, but they also didn't have a set leak at that time, so you could have easily thought it was Holly, but you couldn't have actually made a prediction and guess. Now you know, and what all that to say is like it's hard for me to like I hear what you're saying, but it's hard for me to see it because I knew exactly what it was going into it. So and I can't blame that on Netflix for revealing it or a release order because I knew what it was based on how people revealed it. I'm surprised there are not more stuff that had gotten revealed from Stranger Things. I'm genuinely shocked that not as much has gotten revealed as it has. Um,
yeah, I mean, I think that's fine. Like, I guess I'm sorry for you that you got that revealed. But again, even if you didn't, it's so blatantly obvious that, like,
oh no,
maybe I would have felt
absolutely.
differently about the reveal if we would have had more time. Like, I sat down and watched all 4 of these episodes at the same time, and therefore it didn't feel like there was any mystery to it because it was like it just happened. But moving on from that, another big thing with Stranger Things season 5, and it's been a big conversation leading into this season, is it's been 9 years and the cast has aged.
Oh my
I
god.
don't think that it is as bad as I expected for some characters. I think, funny enough, I they recast Holly Wheeler, who plays a really big role in this, and she was nothing. They recast her, and she's still too old. She's supposed to be 7 years old, and she looks like she's 13. Like, it, I understand why you don't recast the rest of the cast. I actually argue for not recasting anyone. Make them like try and make it believable. Whatever. Some of them look too old, some of them don't. Whatever. It doesn't matter. I don't care about those. You recast Holly Wheeler and she still looks too old. You couldn't find a good 7-year-old actor to play Holly Wheeler or 10 or how she doesn't
Yeah,
look the age she's supposed to be for the progression of time. And there are other characters that isn't the problem for. Like, you have other characters in here that are new characters that feel the age of the character they're supposed to be, and they're new characters to the show. And for all intents and purposes, Holly Wheeler is also a new character to the show. She has like maybe 5 lines in every season, other than the first where she has like maybe 10. And
yeah,
so
but like then you look at somebody like Erica, who the actress just graduated high school
she's 19 years old.
and is
I
going to
Googled
graduate
it.
early, and she's supposed to be a middle schooler. And I look at her and the rest of the people in this class, and I go, "That doesn't look accurate. Like
Oh
that's
yeah,
not
no,
possible." The
absolutely. And I
the
agree with you on that.
and the way they can fix it, and there is an easy fix for this, is you cast every extra behind all the characters and all play the age that the characters are playing, so it feels more real. I think they had like a healthy mix of people, so it threw everybody off. Like is Derek supposed to technically be elementary?
Derek is supposed to be the same age as Holly, and the
Oh
actor is
god.
13 years old. So
Oh
Derek is
god.
also supposed to be elementary school. And here's the thing, I think Derek looks younger than Holly does, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't look 7 years old, he doesn't look elementary school age, but like, I think the Holly one upsets me more because it was a recast and they still picked an actor that looked too old. Like, no shit, all the other actors look old. They've been playing these characters for 9.5 years, and you recast a character because she plays a more pivotal role or whatever. And I don't know what the behind the scenes reasons were, but like, why recast her if you're just going to make her also look too old? And
I also
I will say, they could pull a huge, big, funny move in Stranger Things and have an in-world explanation for why everyone looks older than they're supposed to be.
they
They shouldn't, but if they did, I would laugh my ass off. Because yeah, I think another example of that is Erica. Like, I saw Erica and I was like, "You're not 13 years old. You are like in college."
I mean, I think that the logical thing is just don't make it 5 years for the entire show. Just, like, make it seem longer. Like, take it into the '90s if you have to. Like, you
No,
could you could have done
I don't think they
83
can.
to honestly, you could have done 83 to '89, and I still feel like it would have been more believable at that point.
Because we're what, 87 right now. I believe season
It's
five's
only 5 years.
November of 87.
It's only 5 years
Yeah.
technically.
Which, here's the thing, I disagree because I think that spreading out the story in world would make no sense. I think all the events happening so quickly together makes more sense, but I think it's so over memed online. So, and we're already talking about it, so I'll just like talk about it. It's like, it's been so long since Stranger Things started releasing, and there's like lists online of people who are like, we've gotten this many movies and the MCU's wrapped up in this amount of time, and all the, again, we just talked about how Zootopia 1 and Zootopia 2 came out, like all of these things. Like, yeah, that's a big problem. And I put that on Netflix and the Duffer Brothers for
Yeah.
taking so long to do this. And I do think that that is a negative in a lot of
Well,
ways.
and but
But
can you honestly blame like now we're just pointing fingers and playing the blame game. We'll get back to the main thing, but can you honestly blame the Duffers and Netflix, or do you blame the fact that every single one of the actors in the show got so popular that their schedules have become so locked down that they all needed all the actors together, and now this is the only time that it works? You really don't know what
well,
you could do with that, you know?
to be fair, there was a pandemic, a writers and actors strike and all that, that also put a big hindrance specifically on this season and previous and season 4. So I think
Yeah.
that also is a very fair thing. I think the actors' schedules, Stranger Things is what launched them into stardom. They can easily push things aside for Stranger Things. I don't think that has anything to do with this, in my opinion. Especially since, no offense, the only actors there's like, what, Millie Bobby Brown is very busy, yes, but a lot of the other child actors, for the most part, are not nearly as busy that they couldn't carve out time for the thing that made them
Yeah.
famous. That's just my opinion. But like, yeah, the actors, it's a big talking point. I just want to get that out of the way now. Yes, they look older. I mean, Steve's 30 in real life. Nancy's 31 years old, and they're supposed to be 19 years old. Like, Erica is as old in real life as Steve and Nancy are supposed to be in world. Just think
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Um Look, man, can we also talk about just how brutal this season is? How is this show not rated MA at this point? Is it
I
old?
okay. I'm gonna disagree with you there, and that's just because I just rewatched all the other seasons. The whole show is this is not any more brutal than the previous seasons.
Even
This
the
is
one with
just as
Vecna going
brutal.
through the eyes of the other human being?
That is very brutal, and that is probably the single most brutal death. But you forget, probably because it's been a while, there are some brutal moments. I mean, Steve getting torn to shreds by the bats nearly. There's the like blood balloons at the end of season 4 where it's just blood exploding over everything. There are some brutal moments in the other seasons that, like, this season is also very brutal. The Russian prison, people getting their faces ripped off by demogorgons, like, all of this is not new to season 5. Season 5 is very brutal, but I don't think it's any more brutal than the other seasons, in my
I
opinion.
do feel like they escalated each season. Like season 1 was here, season 2 upped it with like Bob's death and whatnot. Season 3 came in, you had Billy's death. Season 4 was everybody dying for whatever reason, and then season 5 takes it to a whole nother. I think they keep trying to one up each other each season, and it's like, are we
Well,
gonna get the MRA rating? Are we gonna get there? Are they gonna do it? You know?
this is one thing that I think some people have forgotten about, because I've listened to this is probably the most reviews I've ever watched for something pre talking about it. And this is something that a lot of people, I think, just forget. is some people were talking about like, oh, the escalation and the changing of the Demogorgons and all of this. Like, a huge talking factor throughout the entire course of the show is how the Upside Down and the Demogorgons and all of this, yes, they bring this up in this season about how they're a hive mind, but it's not just a hive mind. It's specifically made to be a point that it is a virus that evolves over time. That's why the bats were originally not a thing and the bats become a thing. And now why the bats are no longer a thing because the bats proved ineffective. And so the virus evolved to not have the bats. Like that was
Right.
one big thing that I saw from people talking about. It's like, where did the bats go? It's like, they weren't, they clearly didn't work, so the virus just evolved to not need them anymore. Like this is the natural progression of things. And now I've also seen people who are like, oh, the Upside Down is a lot less scary now. One, it's made a point that the government is doing burns, so they're keeping it at bay more. And second, the virus is kind of in retreat mode. That's what the wall is. The wall
Yeah.
is trying to protect itself from and maybe blocking off some big monsters, I don't know, but like I think that all of that explanation makes total sense for the Upside Down and
Yeah.
the virus that it is. But talking about like how brutal it is, again, it is brutal, and maybe it will get more brutal, but like I don't personally think it's any more brutal than previous seasons. At least
Yeah.
season 4 maybe. Season 4 is definitely very brutal. I mean, I think the reason why like another thing is like Hopper beheads a Demogorgon with a sword and chops it to bits in the season 4 finale, and that was gruesome and brutal. In season 4, you also have people's eyeballs getting sunken in and blood all over their face and their bones cracking. That's really fucking brutal. And I think people might forget about how brutal that is and that imagery and the sounds around that was.
Yeah, and again, I hear that, but then I think about the Karen Wheeler fight in season 5 and go, "Jesus, what the hell happened here?" Like, gets stabbed, slash her throat is cut open, like, I don't know, there's just something like, yeah, the show's always been brutal. I think they do one up each other each season, and they do something bigger, and it does get bigger. Like, there is a clear difference between, like, season 1 and this season specifically. Um, it's just brutal. Uh Okay, dare I ask this? Who what do you think of the usage of dear old Murray this season?
I love Murray. Murray's one of the best characters. I love him in all the other seasons. I don't hate his usage all that much, to be honest. I thought I would when I saw that he was just going to be used as a supplier, but I think the reason why is because they've clearly set him up to be more involved going forward. Now that we've like the ending with him and the kids and trying to get them out with the truck, so it's clear that Murray's going to be more involved the rest of the season, or at least I hope he is. And him being the delivery guy makes sense because he wasn't a Hawkins resident beforehand. He's the only character involved in this situation that isn't from Hawkins. He's
Right,
someone who came from outside of Hawkins who had a vested interest because he's anti like commies and anti the government and things like that. So like I
sure.
don't mind Murray's involvement whatsoever because everyone else has to be trapped in Hawkins because they didn't leave immediately. They were here for the raining down of everything. And if Murray wasn't, then it makes sense that he would be outside but still want to be involved, and the easiest way he can be involved is information in items.
Right, yeah. Um, New characters, I'm not saying Holly's a new character, Holly was in the show prior, but just as a character this time around, it's well done. It's nicely done.
Yeah.
She's a nice addition. I feel like come season 2, come part 2, she's gonna have less and less to do. I think especially once Max snaps out of whatever she's in, she'll still be a figure in the show, like, I think about the same as, like, Derek, but she's gonna be severely pushed aside. "Hey, we're gonna wrap this up with the characters that we have." Uh I don't know. I like Holly as a character. Vecna just in the whole train, like Jimmy Kimmel Bauer is just so well. He's such a good actor, and he does this role
Yeah.
so well because he comes off as such a charming guy, and he's just the most evil, despicable human being ever.
Yep.
Um, and I love his plan. I actually do like his idea of give me like it's a horrible example,
I
but
okay.
it's like
I
defining
disagree. I disagree, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. I think it's not. I don't like it.
I think he's building an army, and I like that because it's what else is he going to do? He tried in season 4 to kill 11 and open the rift, and he technically did that. So what's phase 2 of his plan? Building an army, taking kids from the upside, like building his own mini group of Vecnas, I guess if you say. Exactly what he tried to do in Hawkins' lab with 11 the first time around. If that makes sense.
Well, no,
And
I would
I've
say
seen I might be explaining it wrong, but I've seen everybody online talk about this, and
okay.
I love
So
it.
I understand where you're coming from, but you're explaining it poorly
I know I
because
am.
he's not trying to do what happened with 11. He's trying to do what he did with Will, and that's
Thank you. That yeah.
constituted in the conversation that Vecna and Will have when Will goes and reveals his power, where Vecna says, "You were my first experiment, essentially, and you broke so easily." So he's trying to find more kids to experiment on, like Papa did, and rope them into his thing. Which, here's the thing, it's a good plan. One, I think it's rushed. I don't like that that's the new explanation because it doesn't make sense in my opinion. Like, he was anti what Papa did originally, and now he's trying to recreate what Papa did. Like, that doesn't make sense to me. Like, his whole thing previously had nothing to do with building an army. Season 5 or season 4, his whole thing was, I'm gonna kill everyone so that I can open a rift and suck everything in. Now his backup plan is magically to repeat what he did in season 1 and build up an army. Why didn't he build the army first and then invade? Like, it feels like he swapped the order of operations there, and that just doesn't. I don't like. I don't know. Maybe that's just me, but it feels like he should have started with the kidnapping of everyone and should have started in that place and then tried to kill people and open up the rift. Maybe that's just me, but
Again, it also comes back to part 1, part 2, so we'll see. Like, when it comes to all of the things that we're, like, diving into right now, I feel like it's all gonna be just because it happened with Peacemaker, everything's gonna get retconned. Everything we're saying that's positive is gonna become negative, everything we're saying that's negative becomes a positive, because that's just how it works, apparently. That's television for you.
I think another problem that I have with Vecna's usage and the Vecna character this season is they are very heavily relying on what they built up with the play of Stranger Things,
Yeah.
because the play of Stranger Things it is focused on Henry Creel and his time in school and his original kidnapping and all of that, and it is canon to the story, despite there being some major plot holes in it, which a lot of people have talked about online. For instance, Bob is involved in the stage play, and it is
Yep.
specifically said in season 2 that Bob was an outcast and he wasn't friends with Joyce or anything like that. So that's a big plot hole there. But I think that their reliance on a play that 99.99999% of Stranger Things fans are not going to have the opportunity to see unless it's bootlegged on YouTube. I actively do not like that decision.
Okay,
And
you're also assuming that they're not gonna just explain that later, because
but
they
if they
start
do, then we're just going to sit there and get an information dump for an hour, and I don't want them to do that.
That's not necessarily true. We got an information dump in season 4. They could do it the exact same way that did, and that did it perfectly fine. It's all assumptions. We don't know anything. That's what, again, it's so hard to talk about stuff like this because we don't have a clear picture.
Well,
Duffer
no, no, no. Here's the
Brothers.
thing. I
Ah,
I think that no, no, no. This is the reason why I like to speculate and have the week to week conversations, is because I think it is especially, again, you have to remember, Carson. I understand that, yes, we don't have the whole picture. We are still halfway through the season. Like, yes, we have 2 more releases, but you have to remember, we're halfway through this. We are halfway done with the story. And I know you haven't looked at the run times of it, but they have released the run times, and the season finale is the same length or similar length as the season 4 finale, about 2.5 hours. All the other episodes are around the same length that we've gotten so far. So the
yeah.
next drop is going to be probably about 4.5 to 5 hours because it's only 3 episodes as opposed to 4, and then we only have one more episode left. And I think the fact that right now, halfway through the season, I still have so many questions. And you're saying, oh, they're going to explain it, they're going to wrap it up. It's like they don't have a lot of time to do that. They really don't.
What questions are you referring to? And because I'm curious, because I see every question that has been either answered this season or has been asked this season for people to try to figure out as questions that absolutely can be solved in the time that they have left. I'm just curious to know what questions are you referring to? That's just more
I
so.
mean,
I'm not judging. I'm just curious.
everything to do with Vecna, his motivations, what they're going to do with him, and how his involvement is.
Okay.
Basically everything to do with the government and Dr. K. I think that that is a plot line that is not going to be wrapped up all that much, and I don't think they have the time to do it. I think that the all of the character dynamics that they've set up is, again, they've set up more when they should have started wrapping up things already. Like, they haven't wrapped up my biggest thing is they haven't wrapped up a single plot line yet at the halfway point of the season, and given that this is the final season, if it was any other season, then that's fine, and because there's more seasons to come, but the fact that we know this is the final season and not a single thing has been wrapped up and only more has been set up, like with the proposal with Jonathan and the love triangle that's going on there, the will they, won't they between Will and Mike, everything going on with 11, who's going to die, who's going to live. Like, there are so many things that have just been continually introduced with nothing wrapped up whatsoever. And they've introduced more characters. Now you have Derek and Molly and all of this, that it's just like, I don't think that that's the direction you should take your final season of specifically Stranger Things, with the way that they left off with a clear, like, cliffhanger at the end of season 4.
Yeah, I don't just I no, I'm sorry, I almost said I don't disagree. I disagree with a lot of what you just said. I think a lot of those questions can be answered. I think the government one can be answered right now for you. And it's unfortunate and it sucks, but this is just how it is. There is no question for the government. They are hunting 11. That's purely the reason why they're there, and that's it. Done. There
And
is
that
nothing
sucks.
further with
That
them.
that's
It
that
it
feels like
sucks.
such a weak thing for you.
But you want there to be another question because you want there to be more. There's not. That's purely what they're there. That's what the government has always been in this show, and it's
No, because
unfortunate.
here's the thing: the government in other seasons, to me, has been more interesting than what they've set up here. You've had more of a connection with them because they feel more weighty. I mean, Dr. K, they're setting up to be the big government villain. She's in 3 scenes. At least the other guy in previous seasons had more screen time. You have him directing a lot of things with the chase of 11, and that's what's leading to that whole thing. Like, I don't know. It feels like a lot happened off screen. Like, I don't like the decision that there was a year and a half between the events of season 4 and the events of season 5, because they kind of just like breeze over a lot in the explanation from Robin, in the sense of, oh, well, now there's a giant metal band-aid and they explained it off again. And like, oh, we're in quarantine, which I like all of that. It just feels like they set up the ending of season 4 to be like a, oh, how are they going to get out of this? The worlds are meshing. Everything's going to go to shit. Vecna's still out there. And then all of that happened off screen, and I don't love that decision, and I think that's why I feel like they just continue to set up and set up and set up and set up, and there's nothing being wrapped up.
Again, I don't see that. Like I actually see the exact opposite. I see exactly what the point is. I think there is a logical argument that, and I know this because I've done this for plenty of shows. Sometimes people don't want to accept that what's in front of them is exactly what's in front of them because it's not good. Again, like the government. The government in season 5 is no different than the government in season 4. And I think you're confusing the government with the scientists that experiment on 11. That's different.
Mm-mm.
That's not.
No, no, the scientists that experiment on 11 is different than the government. I'm not confusing them. The government is the ones that are chasing and lead to all of those events of
Yeah.
her running away and all of that. That stuff was still more interesting at the halfway point of the season to me than what they have set up with Dr. K, who has had 2 seconds of screen time.
I don't know about that, especially because you also do know because you keep referring to the guy in previous seasons. You know the guy in previous seasons has been in season 5, right? Like he's in
Yes,
this
and he
season.
should have been. He has had more screen time than who they are setting up to be the main villain, Dr. K. And that's why Dr. K is so unnecessary for the season, and they should have just stuck to him.
It's just the government. Their bodies that are made. They're cannon fodder. That's it. That's the government story. So answering your question there, they're cannon fodder. Don't read into it too much. They're all gonna die.
Here's the thing.
Sorry, government.
Again, I'm coming freshly off of watching all the other seasons, and that's not how they treated them sometimes in other seasons. And so the fact that they are treating them that way in season 5 doesn't feel that good to me.
Which seasons are you referring to? Season 1 obviously was a little different, but that's like the government was kind of hunting after first off, the government's always been hunting after 11. That's always been
Correct.
their goal.
Correct.
Season 1, they were hunting after 11. They traced her to the middle school. I remember that clear as day. That's what that was, but they were also kind of in league with Brenner at that point. Season
Okay, so
2, I don't even recall them really being much around. Season 3, they definitely weren't around. That was the Russian government,
no,
which
they
is different.
were. It was Dr. Owens and the government with Dr. Owens. That is still the government. It
Yeah,
was the Dr. Owens stuff. That was I love Dr. Owens. Dr. Owens, I
that's
hope he
true.
shows up in this season.
That's
So,
true.
okay. Here's the reason why. Let me explain it a little bit better. There has always been a through line with the government and a connection to things with the government. In season 1, it is the doctors, it is Papa, it is all of this. I don't even think I need to explain season 1 because everyone universally loves season 1.
Yeah.
Season 2, you switch over from the antagonistic force that is Papa and the government to the helpful force of Dr. Owens, who's trying to push past the rhetoric that has been put on the doctors and all of that and trying to make up for that.
Okay.
And that is a lot more interesting because he's trying to be the anti-Papa in a way.
Okay.
Then
Okay, then I agree with you. Yes, season 2 for sure definitely is better than what they're doing now. Continue.
then in season 3, well, okay, I'll skip to season 4 because honestly, I barely remember the season. The government in season 3 is a lot less important, and I think that's fine. I think it's more with Dr. Owens and stuff. Season 4, the reason why it's so interesting, and it is again, it is a wild goose chase, but it is Dr. Owens having to work with Papa and have that whole dichotomy while they're being chased by a guy who is, yes, he can be said that he is the same as Dr. K and he is a faceless villain, but he is a lot more brutalistic with his approach, and his direct, unapologetic attacks immediately make him more interesting. He is very hands on, he is very always present. Every attack, he is there. When they invade the hospital, or when they invade the house with the gang, with Mike and them, he is there, he is present, he is pushing through. When they attack the hospital, he is there, he is pushing through. It isn't the government as a force, it is one single guy with the backing of the government who is the cannon fodder, but he himself is not the cannon fodder. Dr. K is never present when anything is happening. That one guy whose name I keep forgetting, and I should have looked it up, he is more present and more the force, but very clearly taking a sideline to everything. That why is Dr. K even necessary? Because he would have been more sense trying to redeem himself for the failures that he had in season 4, because he was present and you got so much screen time with him, of him being there at every attack and him being the one pushing through everything, that now Dr. K, you have 2 scenes with her sitting in a lab being like, do. Oh, I know. I already know everything about the upside down because I've been studying it for a year and a half. And I hated the scene of her explaining things to Hopper because it felt like such a like, I know everything than you. And Hopper's literally been suffering through the upside down forever. Like, and he knows all of this shit already. And it felt like such a like snooty ass thing. And maybe that
Okay,
was the
again,
point,
I
but
agree with that. You just explained what I was trying to differentiate earlier. Everything with Owens, not in season 2. Season 2 is fine because okay, if that really, again, it's been a while since I've seen season 2, so I would need to rewatch it again. Everything in season 2, if that is the government, great. Then yes, that is better than season 5. I'm referring to the branch of government that this branch of government is in season 5, which in season 4 is just the people hunting after 11. It's not Brenner, it's not Owens, it's not that faction, which I'm still not convinced that's a branch of government as much as that's just the scientists and people loyal to them helping with this project. I'm talking specifically about the government that's just been hunting after 11. Maybe a little more antagonistic and brutalistic, sure, but it's really no different. They were really just there then and they're here now. That's part of the reason why in season 4, the whole like Mike, Will, Jonathan Argyle, not Argyle. Is his name Argyle? His name's Argyle. That whole story was by far, in most people's eyes, the most boring. Thank you for looking this up, by the way, because I know you're looking this up to help me here, just because I don't remember. That whole storyline is significantly not as good as the others because it doesn't involve the government as much. Obviously, 11's story does rope back around and it feeds into the Nevada storyline with the guys and whatnot. I'm just saying I don't see it nearly as big of a difference as you're saying. Sure, it might be better. It might be worse than season 4 because I guess I do see the guy more as antagonistic, but it's not like it's much of a difference. They're all nameless soldiers who are doing with the same thing that they were doing in season 4. It makes no difference. For season 4, roping it back around to the main thing of like what questions do you have and talking about the government. The government is a thing in season 5 that doesn't need to have more questions put on it, and I don't think that there is. Dr. K is the only thing, and yeah, that could be revealed at some point. Right now, it's really bad. That could just be a really bad thing that season 5 is doing, is handling the government. Other than that, the government is exactly what they were in season 4. It doesn't matter. That's how
No,
I'm viewing it, at
again,
least.
the difference that I am saying is, and I looked it up, it's Lieutenant Sullivan is the person I've been referring to.
Oh yeah,
Lieutenant
yeah, I see that.
Sullivan is the antagonistic force that is chasing after L. Every single time they go after L, he is present. He is the main focus of every scene when they go after L and attack her. He is there at the doctor's place. He is there at the house. He is there every time they go chase it out. They are trying to replace Lieutenant Sullivan with Dr. K, and yet Dr. K is nowhere to be seen 90% of the time. So she's kind of just this behind the scenes force pulling the strings. Lieutenant Sullivan wasn't cannon fodder. Like you're saying, the government is cannon fodder, and maybe all the people behind him are cannon fodder, and the government as an entity is cannon fodder. But Lieutenant Sullivan was there and present in driving the story forward with his misunderstandings and all of that. Like, here's the other thing. Lieutenant Sullivan was a good antagonistic force because of his negligence, because of he didn't know anything. He is just scared and he is driving through because he thinks 11 did everything bad. Now, Dr. K is made to be apparently this expert on the upside down after studying it for however long she's been studying it for, and yet still thinks that 11 is the big bad. Like, she's not negligent. She knows how the upside down works and all of this, and yet she still thinks it's 11 when, like, I could believe that Lieutenant Sullivan was hunting after 11 because he was negligent. I don't believe in anything Dr. K is doing. And even if you can explain, like, oh, there's been nothing that she's found in the upside down to make her think that it wasn't 11, fine, whatever. She's still not present. And you can say, like, oh, you can write it off as being bad. That is exactly the point I'm making. It is bad. That's all I'm trying to say, is that it is bad, and it's been done better in other seasons.
Yeah, I'm saying that I don't know if it has. Like again, I'd have to fully go back to fully get there. I'm gonna move on from this because
Yes,
look,
please,
I
please.
am. Why are we still talking about this? It's the government.
Okay, so I have a big theory. I think I figured out how Stranger Things is going to end.
That's you. Everybody's been saying that for the past 4 years, or for the past 9 years. Please go ahead and give me your theory
No,
because
no,
I
no, no,
can't.
no. I've been talking for a while. I want to see if you have any thoughts on how it's going to
How
end.
it's going to end? I don't know if I can predict how it's going to end at this point. I think that there. I mean, the only thing that I can say with a certain fact is I know they're going to stop Vecna. But that's it. I know, big reveal. That's the only thing I can say. I
Whoa!
genuinely have
Can't believe it.
no idea where they're gonna, but that's also the most exciting thing. Because when you say that you think you can predict it, I don't think I can. Like and everybody for years has been saying what the potential ending could be, what it looks like. I've always been a person who says I genuinely don't know. Because every season, like I feel like I got this season 4, I said, oh, this is probably what's gonna happen. It'll end this way. Now we're in season 5. They've done so much already that I'm like, okay, so that throws that out of the water. This is a shot plan. This is not what I thought this was going to be. So I really don't know. Um, I honestly couldn't even begin to tell you.
I think Stranger Things has been laying the groundwork for the way it's going to end for a while. And I think that if they pull it off right, it would be very interesting. I think it's going to have to do with time travel. I think that they're going to reset everything back to the day that Will got lost. They've been setting up time travel for a while. There's already been weird timey-wimey things, mainly to do with the Upside Down. Because the Upside Down in season 4, it is specifically made a very clear point by Nancy that the Upside Down is locked in time at the date of Will's disappearance. And so I think that everything is going to kind of warp back to the day that Will got lost. And I think that Will is going to be written out of this like reality. I think if anyone's going to die, I think it's going to be Will. And I think it's going to be a sacrifice to rewrite history back to that day and take all of this out. And just he never disappeared. The Upside Down stayed contained, and none of this ever happened. I think that that's the way that they're going to end Stranger Things, and I think that Will's power and control over the Upside Down, which is specifically locked in the Will's disappearance time, leans into that theory.
I want to stop for a second before I follow up on a theory that I had heard. I know I just got close to the camera again because I'm locking in here. Um, we've been talking very negative about a lot of things, so I want to specify this here and now, and you can clip this if you want. I don't care. I don't hate a lot of what this season's doing. I don't. I think the character work is still good. I think everything they build upon with character relationships is just as good as it always has been. The writing is good. I think that, the things that do stand out are just the problems that Stranger Things has always had, which is every now and again you have some really bad acting moments where it's just like, how do you get that out of everything you shot or you chose to pick out from like different things that you've chosen? How did you get this? It's things like that. There is some questionable CGI, especially when they're climbing the stupid radio tower, and you're like, "That's not real. That does not look
Well,
real."
okay, the worst part about it to me is it looked like Jonathan was actually climbing on a radio tower, and then you cut to Steve, and for whatever reason, specifically Steve looks
Yeah.
poorly CGI'd on the radio tower, and I was like, "But Jonathan was just why didn't you just put Steve on the same set that Jonathan was climbing on?"
Yeah, well, that's just an example because it's also like the Demogorgons look great. Like the Demogorgons are obviously over season 1 are phenomenal. They look incredible. Um, there are things to love about the season, and this is still so far a really good start to an
Well,
otherwise hopeful
yeah,
good
yeah,
end to a
yeah.
season. This isn't Game of Thrones. Let's get that right out of the way here.
Well, I was gonna talk about the positives after I wrapped up my thoughts on the finale, so we can dive more into
Let's
the
do that because
positives,
I'm feeling
but
kind of bad about the negatives. I did want to talk about quickly about one theory I had, which is that at the end it's going to be revealed that they were all playing D&D the whole time and that it was
nope,
the
I
end of a
hate that,
campaign.
and if they end it that way, it will ruin the show for me, point blank,
I
period.
hate that
There's
too.
no way they can do it right. That is a "they were in a dream the entire time" ass explanation, and that would ruin the show for me.
Yeah, it's like the ending of Roseanne. I've been writing a book for years. Dan died like 5 years ago. Huh? When did you this happen?
Yeah,
Um
no, I hate endings like that, which is funny because everyone always says like, "Oh, Lost, they said that Lost, it was a dream the whole time." Lost, they were not in a dream the whole time, and I don't get why that's such a popular thing. That's not how Lost ended. Go rewatch Lost. That's not how it happened, but I think that if yeah, I have seen that theory on Stranger Things of they're playing a D&D campaign the entire time, or it was someone else's D&D campaign the entire time. If they do that, it ruins the show for me, point blank, period. But yeah,
let's just
I think it'll have to do with time travel.
that's there's a good chance of that. I don't know how I feel about that. I I want there to be time travel, but I also don't because time travel can get messy, and it's been
Correct,
proven that it's gotten
correct.
messy, and I don't know if I like that for the show, but we'll see.
Well, the best comparison that I've heard is if they do it the way that No Way Home did, where Spider-Man kinda has to rewrite himself out of the story in order to reset the timeline. I think if they do something similar, but with Will's character and his abduction being the kicking off point for all of the
Yeah.
events, I think that could make total sense. But yeah, talking about some positives. I mean, we've already talked about probably more positives than you realize, but like I love the Dustin stuff. I think
The
the Dustin stuff
Dustin's
is
great.
the best.
Uh,
I
I
think that
Hopper and 11. We already kind of lightly touched over that, but
yeah,
that's all really good.
Hopper and 11 is a good and bad for me. I love everything they're doing with it. Don't get me wrong. I think it makes total sense. I love they love death baiting you. They love being like Hopper's gonna die. Oh, he didn't. Oh, whatever. I think that the only thing that didn't work for me, and I know we wanted to talk about positives. I'll get this out of the way really, really quickly. We don't need to see a flashback of the hospital that his daughter died in every 30 seconds.
Not every
They
30 seconds at least.
they act like I think the only reason they do that is because they feel like people forget that that is a driving factor for him, when in fact, if you watch the other seasons, they never stop reminding you that he has a dead daughter ever,
Well, you know what?
and
Maybe people wouldn't forget if your season wasn't about 5 years apart.
3. But yeah, no, okay. That's fair, but again, I think it's excessive and I think it takes away from certain things and it unnecessarily adds to the runtime. But let's talk about the best episode in the season so far, being episode 3, being a Home Alone ripoff. It was a great episode. It was so much fun. I think that that is so like season 1 Stranger Things of all the kids coming together and working on this thing. Like I loved it. They're using their knowledge of the demogorgons in a way that like they know what they're doing now, and it shows their growth as like figures fighting the upside
Yeah.
down and the demogorgons. It shows like the progression of like season 1 you have Steve with a baseball bat full of nails and that's their best weapon, and now they have this full like elaborate trap with the fire that they know is going to work. Like I think
Right.
that's a cool progression to see.
And also I just think that like I don't know, I might like episode 4 more than episode 3. I really like episode 3 though. I thought that was really good. There's just something about episode 4. I just love some of it's really funny. Remember,
Delightful Derek.
remember, you're delightful, Derek, not dipshit Derek. Got it.
Delightful
it's
Derek. Gotta
it's
love
just
Delightful
it's
Derek.
great. Actually, everything they do in episode 3 with Derek is quite honestly hilarious. It's
Oh
really
yeah.
good. Derek is a really really positive welcome addition, and it's just I've been seeing the Derek cores online of like suck my fat one, and Robin's going, oh my god, it just like cuts the black. You're like, nope, that's valid. That's the
Yep.
Derek core right there.
Yeah,
Um,
no, I love Derek. Derek's hilarious. I
but
think that
episode
no,
3,
but
yes.
yeah, episode 3 is my favorite, just because of like it's everyone coming together, they're hunting the Demogorgon, it feels very nice. I love episode 4 because of the payoffs and, like,
Yeah.
I think it's episode 4 that Max comes back, right? She doesn't come back in episode 3, it's episode 4 that she comes back, I
I think the
believe.
reveal happens in 3, but I think it actually, like, in episode 4
Hey,
is
yeah, 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 you're right, it
like
is a reveal in episode 3, but it's a payoff in episode
it's
4.
like the whole she's in the
Um
whole episode in 4.
Yeah, that's when she's walking Holly through
Yeah.
everything, is episode 4. I mean, I love Sadie Sink. She's Sadie Sink. I'm not gonna say anymore, but she's beautiful.
Oh,
Um,
Jesus, you're simping. Oh my god. Just say good actress. She's really good.
she's a good,
Uh,
attractive actress,
that's
okay?
not what I said at all.
But I think, I like her role in the season, actually. If you're like if you're not gonna kill her off, you need to have a good, like, reason for it, and you need to have a good, like you need to have her involved in the story somehow, because if they kept her alive just to keep her in a coma the entire season, or she just magically woke up one day, I would not have liked it. So I like that the way that they're explaining off that they kept her alive is with her being in the Upside Down and helping Holly, or it's actually not the Upside Down, it's the memory world, which that's the other thing that got a little confusing is now okay, here's another thing with the negatives. I know you want to talk about positives, but we now have new dimensions that were never previously spoken about, because the dimension that L throws one into is not the Upside Down. That's
That's
apparently
Dimension
something.
X.
It's Dimension X. We never set that up previously, and now we're just setting it up as another dimension. And now we also have the Dream Dimension, which is supposedly another dimension on top of Dimension X and the Upside Down. Like, It's getting
I
a little
I
confusing,
think I
and a
think they
lot of
just
that
call that. I think they just call it the dream dimension. I think it's just Vecna's mind. I think that's just what they call it. I don't think it's actually a dimension on like
I just think it's getting a little too messy, and again, a lot of that
pick a different
Dimension
word.
X stuff comes into the play, but I can't go to New York to watch a play, most people can't. So it's like, don't make a canon part of your explanation of the story with the introduction of Dimension X in a goddamn play for a TV show, like, that's, in my opinion, bad storytelling. But anyway, moving back to positives, I the Will moment. I love Will in this season. This is obviously Will's best season because it is
Yeah.
the season that Will is the most involved with. I think that Robin and Will are the best duo in this season. I
Uh,
love
debatable, but I love. I was gonna touch on how I love their relationship building.
well, and I think it makes so much sense being the two gay characters in the show. I think it makes sense. Like, Robin is a lot more like, she hasn't come out, but she's a lot more like comfortable with herself, and she's a little bit more confident, I guess, in a way, or she's becoming more confident. Mike hasn't even ever officially like, there's never, the only line is in season 2 when they're having the whole blow up with the breakup with Elle, and
Yeah.
Mike is yelling at Will, and he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry that you don't even like girls." Like, that's the only time, other than the very like clear like relationship and like that he has, especially explored in season 4 because they spend a lot of time together, Mike and Will, and his clear like romantic interest in him. He's never said to be gay, but I love that, like, that's the two characters that they put together and the way that they're helping each other. My favorite meme to come out of this is, and I don't know if you've seen this or not, but it is the Will was so jealous of Mike and Eleven's relationship that Will forced himself to become 11 by by getting powers.
Well, and that's honestly something that I do want to touch on because I do think I can predict where this is going to go for those three characters specifically. Mike loves 11, is in love with 11. We've spent the past
Mhm.
4 seasons developing that relationship. I don't think that there's going to be a sudden change for Mike to go to Will, and
Agreed.
I think that's part of the heartache of Will's character is that he does love Mike, and Mike is never going to love Will in that way in return because of how much he loves 11. I think it's one of the two. Either Mike is going to die, which will cause 11 and Will to come together in like a brother sister moment, or Will's gonna die sacrificing himself for Mike, revealing his feelings, whatever, and that's what's gonna happen. I don't see Mike or Will coming together at the end of the show, though. I just don't think that that's a
No,
possibility based on the story they've set up over the past 4 seasons. This would have had to have been something they would have set up in season like honestly for it to work. You would have had to have set this up in like season 4 like, especially in
well,
the
they
card,
did.
right? Though they said Will's feelings, but
Well,
they never once hinted at Mike having feelings towards Will. And so if they just throw it in there, it just kind of
well, and I
it's a little
think
bit more awkward, especially because you built out the 11. You get what I mean? You know what I mean?
But I think here's the thing. It's very clear that they're not going to end up together because I think the whole point of Robin's conversation with Will is kind of being like a, hey, it's okay to have feelings for him, but you have to understand that like this isn't going to happen. Like this is like, it's a fine thing to do, but like you need to understand that like you can't define yourself as by one person. So
Right.
I think that that is like, it's clear that the show, I think there's two possibilities. I agree. I think that Will could sacrifice himself, revealing his feelings for Mike in his final moments and die. And then Mike and 11 end up happy together as they're always meant to be. Or, and I'd hate this, but if they go with the time travel explanation and they do reset it back to the day that Will died or Will disappeared and 11 never becomes a part of the story,
They could set it up like that,
then
sure.
Mike and Will maybe end up
Sure.
together. But the only way that that works is if Mike never meets 11. And the only way you can do that is time travel. If they try to make a Will and Mike relationship with 11 still in the picture, you will piss off more fans than you don't. And I think that's
Yeah,
the direction it needs to go.
The only other option I could see is, like, they don't get together at the end of the show, but it's, like, hinted at, and it's only if, like, 11 dies at the end of the show, which is also a running possibility of 11 could die at the end of this show, which I would hate because there's so many things. I would hate a lot of specific people dying in this show because it messes up a lot of the characters that we've been building with. Like, Hopper and Joyce are like parents to Elle. It's like if Will dies, that really messes up Joyce and Hopper. Hopper will be there for her, but it really messes up Joyce. If Jonathan dies and Will dies, that really messes up, like, and how do you wrap that up so contently? Like, there's so many things that could possibilities that could go wrong with that.
So my thought is everyone thinks they're going to kill a main character.
They-
Everyone and their mother thinks they're going to kill one of the main characters. Given that they haven't and we're halfway through the final season, I 100% agree with you. They do not have the time to kill off a main character and give you a payoff that most people will be happy with. Now, again, this is why I think that the time travel thing and resetting everything, if you want to kill a character and you reset things, maybe, but I think that, like, if they kill off a character that is that important to the story and then just it's kind of like when they killed off what's his face at the end of It Chapter 2, and then you just kind of never get like it just kind of moves on. Like they kill him right at the end and then they move on. Like that's kind of like a
yeah.
whiplash situation. Like they would just be repeating that same thing with Stranger Things, and I wouldn't like that specifically because all of the characters are so close to each other in a way that they weren't in It Chapter 2 that it wouldn't work as well.
However, there is two characters that could
Murray, I
die.
know, and they better not.
There no, 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 there's 2 characters they could kill that are logical and they're building towards that could make sense. I'm only saying and one of them is Will. I'm only saying no to Will dying because if Jonathan dies too, I think that's too much. I think you need to have one of the either survive. Jonathan can die, but then Will lives. Will dies, Jonathan has to live. I think that's how that works. You don't want me to say it. The other character is Steve Harrington. And I think that they have been building for that since
Well,
season 1.
I would assume Steve was supposed to die in
In
season
season
1.
1. Yeah, he was yeah.
Famously, Steve was supposed to die in season 1, and here's the thing. I will if they kill Steve, I will
I will
be
cry.
inconsolable. I will be a blubbering mess. Like when they death baited me on Max and at the end of season 4 cuz I didn't know if Max lived or died, I was bawling my eyes out over the ending of season 4 with what they did with like Max and all of that. No offense to Max. I love Max. Max is a great character. Steve is the number one character for me. If they kill Steve, like, unfortunately, he is the most logical character that you could kill off.
And make it
Here's the only
emotionally
reason.
satisfying.
Here's the thing. The only reason I don't like that decision is because of what it will do to Dustin. Because you've
Yeah.
already killed off one of Dustin's best friends with Eddie, and you're already going through the grieving arc and putting such a focus on Dustin's grief with Eddie that if you killed Steve off and then you just expect like Dustin to move on, like you think he's bad with the death of Eddie, like he'd be as inconsolable, if not more of than me for Steve's death. And I just okay. If they didn't set up a big focus for Dustin's character this season, being him grieving over Eddie, I think it'd make a lot more sense to kill Steve. The
Sure.
fact that they are tells me that Steve is safe because then they would just repeat the entire thing with Dustin losing another one of his like best friend, or arguably his better friend than even Eddie was. And that would just not work for me, depending on how they explained it.
Sure. Yeah. I don't know. I I've just been always on the side since season 3 that Steve was gonna die. I also and this is one of the last things I want to talk about because it's getting long into this episode. I'm tired. My head hurts. I want
Fair
to take a
enough.
shower, and I want to go relax. And I've said a lot of what I can say about this show. I've seen a theory, and this would also make me be okay with Steve dying, is that there is a chance Eddie comes back. And it's the D&D logic. I don't even know if I've talked to you about this already. I think I talked about this with this mutual friend of ours. It's the D&D logic. One of the episodes is titled Escape from Camazotz. Obviously, Stranger Things is based in the world of D&D. What did Eddie die from? Have you even heard it? Do you even know what theory I'm talking about? Have you heard this theory?
Nope.
Okay. What did Eddie die from?
The bats.
The bats. In horror and D&D logic, what do bats usually lead to?
Vampire.
Hold on. In
No.
episode 1 of season
No.
4,
No.
what killed the entire party other than Vecna? Or I don't know if they killed the entire party. What was another creature they faced?
Vampires. No.
There's a chance that Eddie survives in
No.
the Upside Down, but he lives on as a vampire. I
No. No. I like dead ass, not even as a joke. No. That would be bad. That'd be bad in my opinion. Bad.
do you,
Now,
is it bad because
no,
you don't
here's
want it to happen, or do you think it's bad just because it's just not going to work out? Like what do you mean?
one, I don't want it to happen because it would invalidate all of Dustin's arc that they're setting up right now. In two, it's bad writing. Like, why bring a character back like that? You don't like that's not something that you do. Now, here's the thing: you say that one of the episode names is Escape from what is it, Camelot or whatever.
Camazotz. I don't fully. Some guy explained it really well, but it was like along the lines of like Eddie had the
Escape from
shield
Camel.
and a shield and the sword, and there's some D&D character who has like he's a vampire, but he also like has the shield and the sword, and he, is a brave warrior like Eddie became at the end of season 4. I don't know. He had all these logical things. I'll send you the thing later, but
Is that not the same like is that not the place from Wheel of Time that Molly references or Holly references when talking to Max though
Wrinkle in
about the
Time.
world that they're living in
You
or A
mean
Wrinkle
Wrinkle in
in
Time?
Time? Is that
That
not this?
might.
I thought that was the same place because that is what I thought is that episode was just going to be when Max and Holly escape from that world because I'm pretty sure that's the name of the place that Holly uses when referring to the Wrinkle in Time.
That could be. Again, it's a theory, and I don't think Joseph Quinn actually came back, so I doubt it. However, you could very well be right. That could be the name for it. I just have no idea. I
Eddie
just wanted to
needs
sh
to stay dead. Eddie
I
needs to stay dead. I'm
well,
sorry.
unless
I
unless
love
that
Eddie.
argument
Eddie's one of my favorite characters. Eddie needs to stay dead.
unless that argument of time travel comes in, then you never know what could happen.
That yeah. If we stay in the current timeline, do not bring any characters back from the dead. If we time
Everybody
travel,
Bart
then
comes
fine.
back, Bob Newby comes back, Eddie, everybody's alive. That would undo the entirety of Stranger Things, though. That's also why I'm like,
Only if they did the time travel and explain the time travel well. But I know
well,
if they did time travel, it would piss off a lot of people still. So we'll see.
I don't know. Anyway, I'm gonna say this way. I've said a lot. Season 5 is off to a good start. I think that I want to see the complete picture before I make like final judgments on is this good? Is this bad? Right now, it's solid. It's perfectly fine. I really enjoy my time with it. Especially because it is going for a more simple approach than they have in previous seasons because now there is one arc and goal: find and kill Vecna. That's always what it's been. Yes, there's questions that are on top of that now have to get answered, and there's more things to build, but it's a lot more simple than it was in previous seasons, especially for whenever everything was just scattered all over the place and everybody was in different locations and areas. Um, but I really need to see the complete picture for me to like make an official argument on it.
That's fair. I I I like a lot of what they've done in episode or in season 5. I also dislike a lot of what they've done with the first half. And I think the only reason why I am more negative than positive, or at least it seems like I am, is because we are halfway through the season. If this was where we were at 2 episodes in, then I'd be a lot higher on it. It's the fact that we're halfway through the season, and I feel like we've done way more setup of new things than wrap up of old things. That's kind of where I sit, but I'm still excited to watch it every week. Or not, I can't watch it every week because they fucked up the release cadence, but I'm excited to watch the next 3 episodes at Christmas. Me and Carson will watch them together and then review them on the podcast when they release. And then same thing, most likely I'll have to figure out things with my flight because I might be flying home that day, but still when it drops on New Year's Eve with the final episode, very excited. Yeah, Carson, I'm going to go ahead and say what we're talking about next week because I'm assuming you do not remember what we're talking about next
Remember it
week.
all.
Next week, we will be talking about Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and Wake Up Dead Man. Wake Up Dead Man, if you do not know, is the Ryan Johnson movie that is the follow-up to Knives Out and Glass Onion. It is in that same Knives Out universe. I love Knives Out and Glass Onion. I know Carson does as well. So yeah, Five Nights at Freddy's 2 and Wake Up Dead Man next week.
Perfect. Yep. One of those movies is going to be goated for me. The other, I'm going to see what happens.
One of those
so
movies we will watch.
we will watch. One of those movies happened. Anyway, any final thoughts? Any final regards?
Yeah, it is 5:30 and I still need to edit this podcast. I am tired. I have shorts to record. It's been a long day.
Excellent. Well, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for listening, maybe watching if you're on various platforms. We are located on all streaming platforms, Spotify, Amazon Podcast, Apple Podcast. There's a stupid during the outro. Are you kidding me?
Carson's house is actively burning down as we try to end the podcast.
During the outro. You can find us on all streaming platforms. I promise you we're on every single one. You can also find us on all social media platforms at Nerdy Nimrods. We post all sorts of content there. Brandon posts a lot of shorts and things about anime that he likes to watch. I might post every now and again with WWE. It just depends. And you can find our short form clip content where you just pull various things from the show. If you want to find a specific clip, that will be on there. But that's it for now. I'm going to leave everybody with this. Do not kill Steve Harrington. Let Steve live.
Amen, brother. Amen.
I have been Juggernaut, aka Carson, with my co-host.
Okay, Juggernaut. Your real name is Juggernaut now. I'm Parrotfish, aka Brandon, apparently.
And this is us saying, stay nerdy.